Ladies and gentlemen, it is Monday, January 19th, 2026. Here's what's coming up on the Owen Report today. Well, it's a Monday, so you know what that means. We have stacks and stacks of news from over the weekend. I forgot to mention this last Friday, so I'll just say it now. Can you believe we are actually now on the back end of January? We're now more than halfway through January. Yeah. Things are moving fast, and tomorrow will be a big day for the Trump administration. It will officially mark the 1 year mark, and then Trump on his way to Davos. Some of the administration is already there. But that's all for tomorrow. That's all for tomorrow. Let me tell you what we got for you today. All right. Well, over the weekend, of course, this stuff never goes away. Seemingly never goes away. There was an Israeli-American conference. Seems every weekend there's one of these conferences now. So there was an Israeli-American conference, which just, I thought the whole hyphenated American thing, I thought we were ready to move beyond that. I thought we realized that the hyphenated American thing in and of itself was kind of dual loyalty coded. We kind of realized that decades ago, actually, but here we are. And Marion Adelson was there. And I think the Marion Adelson picture and story is really becomes more clear after this weekend. I think it really starts to make more sense after this weekend. So we'll play some of these clips. Pam Bondi was there. I mean, folks, this is outrageous. As ICE agents are under assault now across the country, but specifically in Minnesota, ICE agents under assault, journalists now under assault, churches now under assault, and Pam Bondi is speaking at an Israeli conference. I mean, that's it. That's it. That's everything in a nutshell right there. And I know people want to have this debate, but there's the evidence. It's right in front of your eyes. It couldn't be more obvious. It's never been more obvious. What else do you need to see? ICE agents under attack, journalists, everything that's going on. The fraud. What about the fraud? Hey, where's the Attorney General? She's over here speaking at the Israeli conference. She's telling them how they're her priority. Her words. So, oh yeah, we'll have plenty of that. We'll have plenty of that and other surrounding scenarios and circumstances. It's just everywhere. And then we'll actually go to Minnesota. We'll show you some of these videos. There's so many. In fact, I'm thinking of them now in my head. I didn't even bring them all. There's going to probably have to be some I'm going to have to pull up. Like what happened to Nick Sortor this weekend. I forgot to put that in my stack. But we got so much, we won't even have time for it all, probably. So we'll show you all of the protest stuff this weekend. We got the geopolitical news, some weirdness out of Trump, and then some movements in Greenland. Putin weighing in, by the way, and I think we're starting to see, we're kind of understanding Putin's approach now to the Trump administration with his latest comments on Greenland. More wildfires in South America. Wildfires. Of course, we find out in Argentina that they were started intentionally. It looks like Chile is now reaching the same conclusion that they were these forests were burned intentionally. So we'll look at some of that. Some weird news out of the Democrat Party this weekend. And I love all of these people that come back in hindsight and they say, oh, golly gee. See? Folks, everybody was reporting on the Josh Shapiro story when it was happening, okay? So let's stop acting like this is breaking news about Harris and Shapiro. And then, I didn't plan on talking about it, but there's some other news that's kind of oriented around the subject materials today. Boys' night out in Miami. Boys' night out in Miami stirs some controversy, so we'll weigh into that too.
This news update was brought to you by OwenSchroyer.store, the official site for Owen Report merchandise.
All right, how many people listening to this have been affected by some sort of identity theft or personal private information getting out to criminals on the internet? In fact, sometimes you might even be getting mail that says, hey, you could be a victim in this hack. It happens all the time now. And so you need to find a way to protect your personal information online. Actually, I found the way for you. Patriot-Protect.com/Owen. That's Patriot-Protect.com/Owen. Our friends at Patriot Protect want to help you protect your online information. Let me tell you how this goes as somebody that's actually been through it. Again, you might get something in the mail, a big company that you have an account online with, or maybe you've purchased a product from. They send you a letter. It says, we have had a hack. Your personal or private information may have been affected. Some of these letters may even suggest that you change your password. That's how serious some of these hacks can get. So what these scammers do is they try to get your private information any way possible, and then they sell it online. Now, you might think, okay, I'm acutely aware of this, and maybe you're doing some safeguards. Well, what about when they get your private address? What about when they get your family's private address? That's something that I had to go through, and I wanted to make sure that I never have to go through that again. And it's one thing when it's me, right? It's me. I'm here. It's my face. It's my voice. It's my name. When you get into being a public figure, you know that there's risks that come along with that. But my family didn't ask for that. My family doesn't deserve the harassment. I want to make sure that they're protected too. So that's why I have an account with Patriot-Protect. You can go to Patriot-Protect.com/Owen. And right now, 15% off a yearly subscription with coupon code Owen. You heard that right. 15% off a yearly subscription with coupon code Owen. So here's what they do. They go through the internet. They take the first sweep, and they find all of the private information, address, phone number, email, whatever it is that you don't want out there for people to get access to. They do a sweep of the internet, they find it, they locate it, and they erase it. But the work isn't done. They then run around the clock, 24/7, 365 days a year to make sure that your private and personal information does not pop back up. And if and when it does, Patriot Protect is right there to remove it. So if you haven't done this yet, folks, this is going to be a necessity. Everybody's going to have this type of digital protection sooner or later. Get in now at Patriot-Protect.com/Owen. Use coupon code Owen for 15% off your yearly subscription.
On the cutting edge of news and analysis, the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
All right, guys. All right. Busy weekend. It was a busy weekend, no doubt. I hope everybody had a great weekend, by the way. I feel bad for people out there that are enduring the harsh winter that's going on right now in the northern states. I hate to rub it in, but here in Austin, Texas today, it's 70 and sunny. So no complaints here. But we did have some weather. We had some weather football, some football controversies. It was a fun weekend. It was a fun weekend in America. Unless, of course, you're an ICE agent or a Christian attending church or just a citizen going about their day in Minnesota where wild leftist protesters are trying to ruin your good time. You know, we're going to start a little light today. We got a lot of heavy news, but I want to start a little light today with this Dan Bongino story. Okay. let me just start off with this. Again, we're going to start a little light here. But we do have a couple Bongino things from over the weekend. It's all hilarious. So it's all hilarious. We're going to review some of his recent comments, and then I'm going to show you because he's supposed to return in about 20 days. I guess less than that now. Yeah, I guess it's like 15 or so days now. He's supposed to make his big return. So it's the big buildup. It's the big buildup, but there's nothing really being built. It's like a lot of moving parts shuffling around. It's kind of like when you have construction. Everybody sees this. You have construction on your highway and nobody's ever building anything. That's just a bunch of cones and trucks and people, whatever, and nothing gets built. That's kind of what's happening right now with the Bongino return. But some weirdness over the weekend. So first he makes this statement. And I'm sitting here reading this from Bongino. And again, I was a Bongino listener. I was a big Bongino fan. I don't come from a place of anti-Dan Bongino. We just call it as it is here, folks. So some weirdness this weekend from Bongino. He posts this. Of course, this is all after his departure from the FBI. He posts this over the weekend. He says, "Dear liberal media children, yes, daddy's home now." Okay. Daddy's home now. It's a little strange, but he says, "I know that terrifies you as you claw at your own faces and pile up your feckless attack pieces in anticipation of my show launch." I can assure you there is zero anticipation on the left of his show launch, and there's barely any anticipation on the right for his show launch. And that's not just me saying that. We'll show you the evidence. But, okay, so he's daddy, and he thinks the liberals are anticipating his show and freaking out. Endlessly emailing me for comments about your personal hit pieces. Says it's all a waste of time. He has less than zero interest in contributing to their fairy tales. He says, "I'll save us both time. I'll issue a universal response to your inquiries in my kindness and most courteous Queens, New York voice, and I'll ask you to respectfully go F yourselves and save the energy it takes you to thumb out an email to me. Thanks and have an amazing weekend." Okay, so Bond, this is more crashing out to me. He says, "F yourselves, daddy's home." What is going on? But again, let's measure all of this. Okay, let's just put aside the crash out, the anticipation, the liberals, whatever. He says the left is terrified that he's returning to his radio show. Huh? Somebody explain this to me. How would the left be more freaked out over Dan Bongino's show than they would be him at the FBI? If you had, let's say, an enemy out there in the political world, would you be more concerned if they had a talk show or if they actually had institutional power of the FBI? Which would concern you more? Which would scare you more? So to me, this is all cope. This is all cope. And Bongino knows that in some way, shape, or form, he has hurt his reputation. He knows, obviously, that going back to his podcast takes away the institutional power that he had at the FBI. So he's coping by pretending like, oh, this is the big move. Now I'm back. Now I have power. Now you can really be scared. So I look at this as all cope. But what are we saying here? Are we saying that, because, this would be the interpretation at face value, that you have no power at the FBI, that the FBI has no power at all, and you're more powerful on your talk show? Now, in some circumstances, in all fairness, in some circumstances, I can even understand that logic. I can even understand that philosophy in certain circumstances. These are not the circumstances. These are the exact opposite circumstances when I don't know what your podcast offers. I don't know what threat your podcast poses to anybody except maybe yourself. So no, nobody's freaking out. If we're talking about institutional power and influence and status, Bongino just took a massive step down. In fact, he's in an entirely different arena, really. He left the real arena and he went back to this arena. So I don't know anybody that's freaking out about this except maybe himself. He seems to be the only one freaking out. I don't see any lefties freaking out. I don't see any liberals freaking out. If anything, they're breathing a sigh of relief because you're no longer at the FBI. So that's weird. But he says the liberal media children. So Dinesh D'Souza, Dinesh, he's got Dan's back. He says, Dan comes out swinging, and it's good to have him back in the fight. Back in the fight? He just left the FBI. Guys, what is going on here? I'd love to just summarize this as the boomer crash out, but I don't think it's that simple. That might be kind of the general overtone of all of this is the boomer crash out, because they've been so used to imposing their will over the right, imposing their will over us, imposing their will over the media. But now that the younger generations have come of age, now that social media and the internet is starting to take precedent over television media, this is kind of just the overall boomer crash out. They can't impose their will. They can't dictate the narrative. They can't control how younger right-wingers think anymore, and they're losing the institutional power to keep their control of the narrative. But okay, so this is the logic being proposed by Bongino and by Dinesh D'Souza. This is like if Trump left the White House and they all said, "Oh wow, Trump can really fight him now." Huh? That's what this would be like. This would be like if Donald Trump said, "All right, I'm leaving the White House and I'm going to go do a show from Mar-a-Lago. I'm going to go do a podcast from Mar-a-Lago." And everybody came out and said, "Oh, thank God, Trump is back in the fight. Thank God, here comes Trump again." No, he abdicated his power as president. Now he's going to go do a show. So to a lesser degree, that's exactly what Dan Bongino has done. He's gone from being number 2 at the FBI, one of the most powerful institutions in our federal government, in our country, and he's going back to what was once a top podcast, what was once a popular podcast. We'll see what happens. But how is that back in the fight? None of this makes any sense, actually. And it's not landing. I will tell you, it's not landing. And here's the proof. Now, again, this is kind of the second go around. And I think it was last week we had a very similar analysis where Bongino went on that show that nobody's heard of. How many people have heard of the Haley Talks, or what was it called? Haley something. I guess she's I don't know if she's even in the Bongino atmosphere. I would think that would be Evita Duffy, who actually worked for Bongino. But no, he goes on with Haley, Talks with Haley, or Scrolls with Haley, whatever that show is. Nobody's heard of it. Maybe she's under the Rumble umbrella, and that's why he went there. I don't know. But so that's his big return, is this show nobody's ever heard of. Nobody talks about it. Nobody cares. It lands flat. So this weekend, Bongino shoots a short video, and I guess he's back in his home studio. Looks like that. And he gets the entire MAGA digital influence brigade to promote this video he shoots, to build the hype, to build the anticipation. And so I asked you before we play this, have you seen this? This is Bongino's new hype video.
Can't wait to get back on the air. February 2nd, 10 a.m. Eastern Time. The return of the Dan Bongino Show. Lovers, haters, friends, supporters, detractors, you're all welcome. Make that chat room fire. I want to hear it all. Rumble.com/Bongino, February 2nd, 10 a.m. live. See you there.
Damn. And actually, I take it back. This is not his home studio. This, I think, is still the Haley Scroll studio. Might even be the same shirt he was wearing for that interview. So did he just can this a couple weeks ago? So they have the whole Trump digital influence team pushing this video over the weekend. Dan Bongino, I'm so excited to be back. Hey, look, I get it, Dan. I'm sure that this life of hosting your talk show is way more comfortable, way more fun. I'm with you there. Okay. So I get that. But let's stop pretending that this is something that it isn't. You left the FBI. You did not meet expectations. You wildly failed at the expectations. The entire basis of your podcast was standing up to the deep state, calling out deep state corruption. You got into a position to actually do something about it. You didn't. And now you're building up this hype, or attempting to build up this hype, that you're going to go back on your popular show and do what? Do you think people are going to tune in every day to listen to you lick Trump's boots? Clean Trump's butt? I don't understand what this is. Okay, but aside from that, folks, there's no hype. There's no hype. I'm sorry, there is just no hype for this at all. And even for Bongino shooting this hype video, it barely has a pulse. Because he knows it. He can't hide from reality. And he would have been better off just coming out and saying, look, I got in there. It was extremely difficult. It was a lot more difficult than I had anticipated. The swamp is deeper than I had thought. And quite frankly, I had made so many sacrifices in my personal life and my family life, and I wasn't getting the results that were desired. And so I've just decided I want to go back to my show, back to my family, and kind of put the DC swamp life behind me. I wish I could have done more, but it is what it is. And I hope you'll accept me when I go back on air. It would have been, if you could have done something humble like that and maybe explain a little bit of why he made the decision. But no, he somehow declares victory, like he's a mission accomplished, and now I'm back and more powerful than ever. But everybody knows it's not true, including himself. So again, just to clarify, in case you're wondering, I've been a Bongino fan. I've listened to his shows for over the years. It was a staple in my media consumption for years. And he did do a great show, and he did write some great books, or whoever wrote them with his name. I don't know. That's how things go in this industry. I just don't see how he returns, especially after the way he's tried to rebuild himself upon the return. I just don't see it. And I think that he has underestimated all the things that have happened in the last 12 months as far as the media is concerned. And I could imagine if you're at the FBI, there's probably a veil between you and the media now. There's probably a great distance that Dan is not typically used to between himself and the media world and the average American that likes to consume political media. And he was away for, 10, 12 months, whatever it is. And he doesn't realize how much the landscape has shifted. He doesn't realize how much things have changed. He doesn't even realize that the sentiments of his own audience are probably way different than they were, say, just 8 months ago. So he might, in his mind, really think that everything is exactly how he left it, and that the playing field and the arena is the same layout that when he left it, and it's totally different now. And I'll say this, and I've been saying this for over a year. If you've been listening to my shows for over a year, I've been saying this. I said it right after the presidential election, in fact. Every election cycle, people in the media rise and fall. Every election cycle. You'll have some that rise, you'll have some that fall. You'll have some that don't even exist that become huge. You'll have some that are huge and then don't even exist. This is usually a 4-year timeline, sometimes 2, but it's usually 4 years. It's usually presidential election cycles. The way the media moves and the way the internet moves and all of this stuff, it moves so fast. What normally took 4 years in political media now happens in 12 months, basically. So Bongino might have taken that mindset and said, well, I can get away with this. I was only gone for 10 months and everything's basically going to be the same. It was only 10 months. And he's an older guy. I think he's like 40, 50, whatever. So he's probably used to that kind of 2 to 4 year turnstile of political media where it's like, okay, I can still kind of come back in and everything is the same. It ain't like that anymore. Everything is condensed in political media now. Everything moves so fast and the sands and everything and the land shifts so fast. It is a totally different landscape than it was when Bongino left. And maybe he just hasn't realized it yet. Now we'll see. We'll see what happens when he does return, as far as how is he going to handle the ever-changing landscape, and then how is he going to explain to his audience the lack of deep state arrests for the things he's been talking about for years and the books he's written and everything else. We'll have to see how that goes. But so far, I'd say it's not looking good. And from what I can tell, and I don't know Bongino like that. I don't know him personally. So, I mean, I know people that do. We'll leave it at that. But from what I can see, it looks like he's not handling it well. It looks like he's not handling it well. And I think that he was already handling things. Let's say it was tough for him to handle some of the things when he left his show and went to the FBI. I think it was tough for him to handle some things. I think he's got enough money that it probably doesn't matter. But, you know, money does come into the play. Money's always a factor. And he does have family. And he does have a wife and young kids that are in school and still living at home that he's not seeing. So I think all of this really affected him. And, you know, maybe he didn't handle it well behind the scenes. Maybe he did. I don't know. But now that he's like, okay, I'm trying to go back to my life. I got to go back to my life. Things just didn't work out here. I'm not enjoying it. I'm not getting done what I need to get done. So I'm just going to try to go back to my life. And I would say that if that life is not there for him, the way he thinks it is, or the way he wants it to be, I could see a major crash out. I could see a major crash out if that is the case. Now, I'm not rooting for that at all. I would say if I could advise Dan Bongino, and this comes from a genuine place, I would say, Dan, you know, you're gonna have, if you want this to work out, and I could easily say, well, he's my competition, so I want him to fail. I don't look at it like that. No, I'll give Bongino free advice right now. I'd say, Dan, if you want this to work out, when you go live on February 2nd, you have to explain to your audience. You have to explain to your audience why we're not getting deep state arrests. You have to. You have to. And you might be able to hide behind an NDA, a non-disclosure agreement, or, you know, you can't say things, whatever. You can hide behind that just a little. Just a little. But you can't hide behind it fully. It will not be acceptable. It will not be acceptable. And I'll just say this, and maybe this is the move he makes, but it'll be different for him on his show. The contacts that I have that are, let's say, you know, close to the head of the FBI, I'll leave it at that. They just say to me when I complain that, oh, the swamp is too deep. The swamp is swampier than we thought. The swamp is such a mess. You know, we're trying, is basically what I get. So he might be able to roll with that, but that's not going to cut it. That's not going to cut it when he goes on air and his audience wants answers. I would suggest, if I was Dan Bongino, I would just become an FBI whistleblower. That's what I would do. I'd become an FBI whistleblower, and I'd say, all right, you know what? And declare your whistleblower protections. Maybe try to rekindle your relationship with Kyle Seraphin and Garrett O'Boyle, Steve Friend, the rest of the FBI whistleblowers. Maybe try to rekindle that. Maybe call their lawyers that you helped them fund. And maybe become an FBI whistleblower and say, here's why we can't get anything done. Because I know there's stuff there, Dan. Anything less, I just don't know. I don't know how it works out. I don't know how he makes it. Again, I don't think money matters. I think he's got plenty of that. But I would just say he seems to have the personality and the psychological makeup where if things are not comfortable and he gets more criticism, when he comes back, I could see a major crash out. I could see a major crash out when he returns to his show. So we'll have to see about that. And the time will fly, folks. You know that. You know the time is going to fly between now and then. It already is flying, isn't it? My goodness. My goodness, is the time flying. As I said, can you believe we are already into the second half of January? Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. All right, folks. You know the official coffee of the Owen Report is Blackout Coffee. You got to try some if you haven't yet. You got to try some if you haven't yet. Trust me, it's going to be your favorite coffee, just like it is mine. Blackoutcoffee.com/Owen. Now, I told you, I just got a huge package of my Blackout Coffee. By the way, it comes in a pretty cool box. I always see this stuff when you order different products, whatever. Some put a lot of time and effort into the presentation. Include Blackout Coffee in that. When you get, and I don't know if it's because I had a big order, but the box it came in and everything, the presentation of all the different coffee that I got was like, wow, you guys really care about when you open this. It's like, this is nice. This is classy. And then the smell of the fresh coffee too. Oh, it's just so great. My problem is I've got all this coffee. I've got all this Blackout Coffee in my pantry. I've got the single serve pods that are really convenient. I've got the different bags of coffee, great tasting, fresh. And I still just love the premium instant coffee. I can't help it. I just love it. It's so fast. It's so convenient. It's literally instant. It is premium. And that's the difference here, folks. Most instant coffees, it's not good, doesn't taste good. You drink it once, you're like, ah. I will tell you, it tastes like prison coffee. So you can imagine that. Not premium instant coffee from blackoutcoffee.com. This is truly premium, and it truly is instant. So it's still my go-to, folks. Try it all. Blackoutcoffee.com/Owen, the official coffee of the Owen Report. All right. Let's see here. I think we've got some more serious news to get to, shall we? Let's do this. This is pretty serious. Now, we've seen these videos. We've seen these videos from Europe mostly, where you make a controversial social media post and the police show up. You might even get arrested. You're going to court. You might do some time in jail. And this has been going on in Europe for quite some time. I don't know if has it been a decade since this has been going on? But it is still going on. And we've seen a few instances. There's been a few instances in the United States where this has happened. Just a small handful. And for most of them, it's, you can argue that it's free speech, but it's hard to defend some of the stuff. If you're making death threats, it's that's nobody really wants to defend that. Well, that's not the case here in Florida, ladies and gentlemen. So this is a woman who made a social media post critical of Florida's connection to Israel, and more specifically, Florida's politicians who show loyalty to Israel. And this is undeniable. And by the way, this is where the Israeli conference was this weekend in Florida. As we told you, was happening last week, and Trump down there, and Mossad was down there meeting with Trump, and Bondi was down there. So it's amazing. It's like the big players in the Trump administration are all in Florida because the Israeli conference is there. Meanwhile, you've got ICE agents getting tormented and everything that's going on in Minnesota. So they go down to Florida to show their loyalty to Israel. Pretty amazing stuff. So this happens. So this guy shows up at this Florida woman's home because of a social media post. And folks, I told you this was happening. I told you this was happening. I told you I was put in prison for speech by the left in America. And at this rate, I'll be put in prison for speech by the right in America for not saying everything as I'm supposed to about Israel. So here it begins. Is this the beginning, ladies and gentlemen?
Picture to make sure it's you. We're not sure.
Okay.
Is that your account?
I refuse to answer questions without my lawyer present. So I really don't know how to answer that question
Okay.
either
Well,
way.
like I said, you're not
This
going
is
to
freedom
jail.
of speech. This is America, right?
And
A
I-
veteran.
Correct.
And I agree with you 100%.
Okay. All
We're
right.
just trying to see if it's you, because if we're not talking to the right person, we want to go see who the right person
Okay,
is.
how can I help you?
So pretty much it's just a statement that was made as far as,
Verbatim, it says the guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians tried to shut down a theater for showing a movie that hurt his feelings and refuses to stand up for the LGBTQ community in any way.
So a little context. There was a documentary film. We covered this last year when it was making headlines. It was actually Israelis that made it. Some Israelis made a documentary film about, in their view, the genocide in Gaza. So Israeli documentary about what's going on in Gaza. It won awards. It was going to be shown in theaters in Florida, and then some of the local politicians and the Israeli interests got involved, and they had that documentary banned. And so it looks like that's the context of this post, where she's talking about how, hey, you're getting documentaries banned because you don't like the content of it. And so, because it's not in Israel's interest, so you get a visit from police.
Even leave the room when they vote and on related matters. Wants you to know that you're all welcome. Clown face, clown face, clown face. 3 days ago.
He says clown face, clown face. I mean, come on, man.
You don't know if it was you?
I'm not going to answer whether that's me or not.
Okay.
The concerning part, and not concerning for the person who's posting it, what we're just trying to prevent is somebody else getting agitated or agreeing with the statement. We're not saying it's true or not.
Now, do you understand that might even be more dangerous? Because now what he's saying is, because your post, this was what the left was doing, by the way. They called it, what was it? Stochastic terrorism, remember? The left was doing that when they were attacking the right-wingers for free speech, and it was AOC and others saying, oh, it's stochastic terrorism, meaning if you say something that somebody else might go act upon, then that's on you and you're a terrorist. So now it's the right wing doing it. It's the exact same thing. It's just we've changed uniforms now. And isn't it incredible to sit here and watch all of this going on? And you can love Israel, support Israel, whatever, in that foreign policy debate, geopolitical discussion. And of course, this exists on the right. But where are the free speech advocates? Oh, the big right-wing free speech advocates are silent now that Americans' First Amendment rights are potentially about to be infringed upon in the name of Israel's interests. Where are they?
That guy who consistently calls for the death of all Palestinians, that can probably incite somebody to do something radical. That's all we're here to talk about.
So you say the truth. Oh, so now the truth. So, okay, let's say this is Randy Fine and some of the crazy things he said on the internet, or even Laura Loomer. These two exist in Florida. Look at the things Laura Loomer has said about Muslims. Look at the things Randy Fine has said. Imagine that. What this woman said is like 1%. Like 1% of the things Randy Fine or Laura Loomer has said in the state of Florida when it comes to, this could incite violence. And again, I'm not saying that Randy or Laura can't have their free speech and call for the death of all Muslims or whatever they want to do. But I'm saying nobody's going to go visit their house. No police are going to show up and say this could incite violence. No, because they're acting in Israel's interest. But when it's against Israel's interests, now you're getting a visit from the police.
And we wanted to get your side. If it was you that posted that, I would think to refrain from posting things like that, because that could get something.
Oh, and so now you can't post the truth. Now you can't tell the truth because somebody might act upon it. So what? So what's the equivalent here? If you make a social media post that says Israel has killed 70,000 people in Gaza, which who knows the real number, folks? Who knows? Honestly, it's probably over 100,000, but who knows? So imagine, oh, hey, did you know Israel killed 70,000 people in Gaza, including 40,000 women and children? You can't post that. That is illegal. You can't post that. What? So now you can't post the truth. That's what they're saying. You can't post the truth. Now, again, if you flip sides, what was the left saying? What was the left saying just 2 short years ago? Oh, if you say the truth about transgenders, that could lead somebody to violence. So we need to censor you. Yeah. Oh, you're telling the truth about vaccines. You're telling the truth about masks. You're telling the truth about how these COVID vaccines either haven't been tested or the trials that we do know of have led to heart problems and turbo cancers and everything else. So you can't say that. That could cause somebody to act. So now what are we saying? You can't tell the truth, is what we're saying, because somebody might do something. How about somebody commits a crime, they're a criminal, we have laws and law enforcement. How about that? It's pretty simple. No, see, now the right is doing exactly what the left did 4 years ago, and they're saying, you can't post that, even though it's true. And the guy in the video says it. He says, hey, look, we're not disagreeing. We can't argue that this is not true. We're just saying you shouldn't post the truth. I can't believe I'm hearing this. I can't believe I'm seeing this in America. They're saying you can't post the truth.
I appreciate your concern. I appreciate you coming out here.
Okay.
That's it?
That is it.
Okay.
I'm going to maintain my amendment rights to not answer the question about whether or not that's right. I hope
Thank
that's
you for your time.
understandable.
We appreciate it.
Thank you
Yeah,
as
have a good
well.
day, okay?
You as well. Thank you. Take care.
That is wild. And I have a feeling it's not going to be the last time. And it's only going to be on one issue. We all know what that is. Now, so this is also happening in Florida over the weekend. The Israel Council. Marian Adelson is there. And we're going to get to some clips here from Marian Adelson and Pam Bondi. We're going to come back to this in the third hour. I've got some other clips from Marian Adelson that there's just kind of a general. I think we kind of start to see where Marian Adelson is really coming from. But we'll hold that off till later because I want to focus on the issue of free speech here. Or more importantly now, priorities when it comes to this administration and what the priorities are and what the priorities aren't. And this has been one of the biggest beefs. It couldn't be more obvious. Israel's interests have been number one for this administration. Appeasing the Israel donor class, the pro-Israel donor class, the foreign donor class, has been the number one priority for this administration. And they just keep doubling down and they keep rubbing it in your face. And now with Pam Bondi, I mean, look, this is why it's so strange. Everybody knows that once a politician gets into office, their number one goal, their number one agenda is to get reelected. Everybody knows this. So part of that agenda, part of the approach is, well, we're going to see things that we say that can help me win reelection, or we're going to look at things that I say or that I do that might hurt my cause of winning reelection. So you would think with all of these different politicians, they obviously have to see how the Israel issue is just killing their chances of reelection right now. They have to see it. Everybody sees it. So you're now looking at the single issue. There is only one issue that I've ever seen in American politics, where even though they know it hurts their chances of reelection, and even though they see the public distaste or even disdain for this commitment to Israel's interest, and they will double down, and they will triple down, and they will quadruple down. You will never see that with another issue. If they do it once, maybe they double down, and then they see this isn't working, and they just back off. It doesn't mean they change policy. It doesn't mean they're going to vote accordingly. It just means, hey, we can't talk about this. We gotta put wraps on this. It's not popular. Nobody likes it. This is going to hurt our chances of reelection. Not with Israel. They'll triple down, quadruple down, quintuple down. Just never. There is no other issue in politics where a politician will continue to support an issue that they know they get massive negative feedback on. There is no other issue. So how are you Pam Bondi? How are you Pam Bondi? No deep state arrests. Everybody knows this is a major issue from the Trump base, from right-wingers. No deep state arrests. And now you've got these protests. You've got these ICE protests in Minnesota that are getting deadly, and they're trying to kill ICE agents. And so you'd think, if you're Pam Bondi, hey, you know what? Maybe it's not the best time to be a keynote speaker at the Israeli Council. Just maybe. It's like, you know what, Pam Bondi? Okay, she's a great friend of Israel. She's a great friend of the Israeli lobby. She's a great friend of Marion Adelson. She's from Florida. She's friends with all the giant, rich Jewish donors there. So it's like, okay, all right. But you'd think she would have the wherewithal. You'd think she'd know the optics of, you know what, with no deep state arrests and all of this stuff going on in Minnesota with the protests and the fraud, it's probably not the best time for me to speak at an Israeli council. Nope. She's going to go speak anyway. So again, they don't care. This is all normal politics get thrown out the window when it comes to Israel. Politicians, they know it's not popular. They don't care. Politicians, the members of this administration, they know the optics are bad. They don't care. So here's Pam Bondi getting introduced by Marion Adelson at the Israeli conference, the Israeli Council this weekend.
Under her leadership, the Department of Justice has made combating anti-Semitism a top priority.
And there it is. There it is. Now, why is it when you say that, or I say that, or anybody else says that, and they say, that's not true, that's anti-Semitic, you're a Jew hater? What are you talking about? That is the observable reality that the top priority for this administration has been the interests of Israel and the Israeli donors. And here's Marion Adelson saying it. She says, Pam Bondi has been a champion for us. She's been a champion for Israel because she has made us her top priority, just like the president. She just said it. Do you want to hear it again?
The Department of Justice has made combating anti-Semitism a top priority, especially in response to the alarming rise in incidents following October 7. She brings moral clarity, resolve, and an unwavering commitment to justice to this critical fight. Please welcome my friend, the 87th Attorney General of the United States, Pamela Bondi.
Oh, it's all smiles. We're all giggling. We're all laughing. Yeah. Oh, it's all fun and games. Meanwhile, there's a church in Minnesota that's being raided. ICE agents are being assaulted with deadly weapons. And we're down here laughing it up, having a giggle at the Israeli Council with the Attorney General.
Miriam Adelson is amazing. What she has done for Israel, for our country, and for this world is...
What has she done for our country? What has she done for this world? Look, I'm going to get into the whole Marion Adelson thing in a minute. I can't do this with Pam. I'm done. We'll come back to Pam here in a second. What are you even talking about? What has Marion Adelson done? She's taken her husband's money and just bought politicians with it. What are we talking about? Oh, Marion Adelson. All she's done is take her late husband's money and just bought politicians and made sure that American politics is all about prioritizing Israel. That's all Marian Adelson has done. So, she's so great. And Trump, again, Trump even said it. When they were all in Jerusalem, letting you know who really runs the country, Trump said, there's Marian Adelson. She's the top donor, and she only cares about Israel. He said it. And then here's Marian Adelson saying, thank goodness for Pam Bondi. She's prioritizing Israel at the Department of Justice. I mean, this isn't conspiracy, folks. This isn't conspiracy theory, folks. This is conspiracy. Yeah, let me rephrase that. This isn't conspiracy theory. This is conspiracy. And it's all the stuff we complain about. Our politicians being bought and sold. Our politicians being corrupt. The interests, the priorities of the American people being sold out to the highest bidder. And it's all happening right in front of your face. And so it's so obvious. So now they're saying, if you say anything about this, we're calling the cops, and they're going to show up at your house, and they're going to say, hey, did you post this on social media? Oh, we're not going to take you to jail. Oh, not yet. Not yet, they're not. So what is Pam Bondi bragging about? And I'll give you a refresher of this if you don't recall. But this is what Pam Bondi is bragging about today, or yesterday, excuse me. This is what Pam Bondi is bragging about. So we've had stolen elections. We've had bioweapons releases. We've had the Clinton crime family. We've had the Biden crime family. We've had Spygate. We've had Russiagate. Just go on and on and on. All of this stuff. Massive crimes. The invasion of our country. Massive crimes. And here's the Attorney General. And what is her big claim to fame? What is Pam Bondi's big claim to fame today with the most, the biggest corruption cases in the history of this country, and she can't even get victory on one of them? What is her big claim to fame?
I want to tell you a story right here in Florida. You've probably heard of it. It's not a crime of great violence, but in my opinion, it's a crime of great significance. I give college presidents my personal cell phone, and I say, if you need anything, call me. My phone rang one day. I was sitting in the office, and it was the president of Florida State University. And he said, something just happened. Yeah, a young woman, a student, threw her phone, cursed, attacked a young student, a young man, male student, who was playing basketball because he was wearing an IDF shirt. She was a student, he was a student. I spent the next few hours on the phone. I called my U.S. attorney. I called the state attorney, called law enforcement. And I guess you saw it went through the system as it should. And she now is kicked out of Florida State University. But little things are the big things, and that sends a strong message that you can't behave that way anymore in our country. You can't bully other students simply because they're Jewish. And you think they're better than they are. Not going to happen under Donald Trump's presidency.
Yeah, okay. So there you go. Now, here's just a quick refresher. And I'd never heard, that's like new. I'd never heard about this thing at the gym with the basketball. That's a new one. So I don't know if that's true or not. I guess it's true. You'd think we'd see the security footage of that. The only security footage we saw when this story broke, white college girl arrested, charged with battery for allegedly touching shoulder of Jewish student in IDF shirt. So the only video we saw, and you may recall this, was this right here when they're in the weight room and the guy's sitting on the weight room and this girl just comes up to him and flicks him off. And it looks like she grabs her phone off of the machine like she was using it before or left it or something. So that was all we heard about, was here's a guy who gets into a verbal altercation with this gal and she flicks him off and grabs her phone and leaves, and that was it. So I'd never heard about anything else until Pam Bondi just said that. Now, folks, if you've been to a major university, maybe even specifically played basketball at the rec center at a major university. Folks, let me just tell you, I went to Mizzou for 2 years, I played basketball at the rec center all the time. Do you know how many fights I saw? Probably at least half a dozen, maybe more. I remember there was one incident, and this wasn't the player that was involved in this, but there were a couple Mizzou basketball players that used to go play at the rec center, and they usually didn't cause any problems because they were smarter than that. But there were some guys that I don't know if they were trying to prove a point or trying to win favor with the ball players, whatever. But they would love to start crap on the floor, maybe to impress the players. There were incidents where even guns were talked about. You know how many people were suspended? Zero. 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 This is unbelievable. How many people have been to a university and seen crazy things happen? Insane things happen, and they still didn't get suspended. They still didn't get expelled from the college. And this one? Wow. So that's what Pam Bondi is doing. That's what Pam Bondi is doing. And so what? So you want to know why there's no arrests for this fraud in Michigan? Because Pam Bondi is pleasing the Israeli donor class.
You cut 2,000 jobs in state government and you didn't lay off one worker. That's 2,000 ghost employees, ghost jobs that we cut. And there's at least 3,000 more, and we're finding more every day. But that was $200 million for the 2,000 ghost employees. You cut 2,000.
So massive fraud in Michigan right there. Where's Bondi? Well, she's in Florida, prioritizing Israel. So that's this big joke. It's this big joke in right-wing politics now. It's like, oh, look at all the fraud we've uncovered. Fraud in Ohio, Minnesota, Michigan, Texas, California, Georgia. Boom, bang, 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 boom, bang, bang. And we're like, where's the arrest? Where are the mass arrests? Where are the mass deportations? What are you talking about? Pam Bondi's taking care of Israel. Yeah, you think that Americans are going to get priority here? You think that this administration is going to do anything about this massive fraud and everything else? No. They work for Marion Adelson. They work for Israel. Don't you get it? Say, oh my gosh. Oh, here we go again with the conspiracy theories. Well, look, if you can't, forget what I think, if you can't see the evidence right in front of your eyes, if you can't listen to them say it themselves, if you can't understand the juxtaposition, throw the optics out. I'm the Attorney General. I'm going to the Israeli conference in Florida to tell them how I arrested a schoolgirl. I ruined the life of a schoolgirl because she got into a fight with a guy in an IDF shirt, who, of course, is so innocent and perfect and glorious. So she goes to Florida to brag to the Israelis that she destroyed the life of a young college girl over she threw a cell phone? Are you serious? She threw a cell phone? Is this a joke? Hey, why aren't they addressing the ICE protests in Minnesota? Well, where's Pam Bondi? Hey, why aren't they addressing all the fraud in Minnesota? Well, where's Pam Bondi? Hey, why aren't they addressing the church that got raided yesterday in Minnesota? Well, where's Pam Bondi? Pam Bondi's speaking at the Israeli conference. So forget what I think. If you can't see this evidence that is right in front of your eyes, I don't know what to tell you. I don't know what to tell you. It's never been more obvious, folks. It's so in your face, it's ridiculous. Now, here, I've talked about this individual before, Cameron Caskey. He was a student at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High, where they had the school shooting years ago. He's running for office in Florida. He is Jewish. Now, if he wasn't Jewish, they'd call him a raging anti-Semite, by the way. But no, he is Jewish. So, and he's been very consistent on this messaging, by the way. I've been following his campaign for about a month or so now. Every once in a while, I give you an update. He posted this yesterday. Many Jewish people do everything we can to combat anti-Semitic conspiracy theories about us controlling the government and media and all of that. And then people like Marian Adelson and Larry Ellison are laser focused on making that as difficult as possible. I think that what Cameron is missing here is that Adelson and Ellison don't care. And actually maybe Kasky is kind of getting it now because he's like, these people claim that they want to stop anti-Semitism, or these people claim that they care about Jews, but really they just care about Israel and themselves. And their entire agenda is all about whatever is going on in the Middle East. And then how can we enrich ourselves in America to make sure that we take care of Israel in the Middle East? And that's what it's all about. And it's just like, yeah. So Kasky comes out here and he's like, boy, you guys are making it real hard for me to stand up for American Jews that are really the victims of all this. Larry Ellison, he's probably got millions of dollars of security that follows him around. Marian Adelson, same story. They don't give a damn about this. They don't have to deal with the slave class. They don't have to deal with the peons that they walk on every day. They don't give a damn. Kasky, though, he's average American, probably not worth millions of dollars. He's lucky if he can have private security. And he's like, boy, you know, as a Jew here that has to endure the anti-Semitism, you guys are making it real hard. It's like, hey, you know, Jews don't control the government. Jews don't control the media. And then every time he looks up, it's like, oh, yeah, there's the Jews controlling the government and the media. Damn it. So it's going to be an interesting campaign to watch because he gets a lot of TV interviews. He's on, you know, CNN, MS Now. He gets time on those shows. He brings this to those airwaves. So it's kind of an interesting phenomenon to watch here. But I don't know how you can disagree with the conclusions that he's reaching. And by the way, most of America agrees, and we'll show it in the polls on the other side.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
All right, everybody's seeing it, folks. Everybody's seeing it. This weekend, a lot of people were talking about it in my social circles, and that is gold and silver being on the rise. And it seems like there's a different angle to this. Now, major industries are struggling to purchase silver. Now, people that are trying to make big purchases of gold, they can't find the weight that they're looking for. Some people are trying to sell their gold that have been holding it for a long time. Point is, it looks like a lot of people are looking at precious metals right now, especially they're concerned about the dollar collapsing, banks collapsing, bank runs happening, maybe the stock market. Yeah, it's high right now, but can we be sure that that's going to last? So a lot of people are trying to protect their wealth with gold. And you can do the same with our friends, Allegiance Gold. All you got to do is go to protectwithowen.com. And right now, $5,000 in free gold and silver with qualified investments. You heard that right. $5,000 in free gold and silver with qualified investments. But as I warned you, when we first started telling you about our friends at Allegiance Gold, that weight, $5,000 worth of gold and silver, is a lot less today than it was just a few short months ago. Now, if this is something you've never thought about before, or maybe you're really starting to consider, but you got a lot of questions, curiosities, all you got to do is give them a call. Just give our friends a call, 844-790-9191. That's 844-790-9191. And our friends at Allegiance Gold will be happy to answer your questions. They want to make sure that you're fully informed and understand what you're doing when you move into gold and or silver. It could be your 401k, IRA, savings. They make it simple to move into precious metals. And with qualified investments right now, $5,000 in free gold and silver. So give them a call. Ask them whatever questions you have to get that confidence if you want to make the move. 844-790-9191. Or go to protectwithowen.com. That's protectwithowen.com. Protect your wealth and your freedom because no one else will.
Political light years ahead of the rest. It's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
All right, we're about to dive back into it. You know, how's everybody doing on a Monday? How's this Monday treating everybody out there? I see these protesters. We're going to get to some of these ICE protests coming up. I got a little bit more on this subject material, including that poll I just teased. How's everybody doing out there? I see these ICE protesters walking around in Minnesota today. It's like -5. It's like real field temperature is -5. You guys are nuts. You're crazy. It might have been worth -5 to go watch the Bears game this weekend. But I don't know, to walk around the streets protesting for non-citizens, criminals, that's a new one. You know, one other thing here before we get back into the subject material. I don't know what it was. You know, everything is impacted by things that happen in your life. I'm not a big New Year's resolution guy. I don't really talk about that, promote that. It's like, oh, okay, whatever. Any excuse to improve yourself is good. I'm not going to come out against it. But I don't know, something really came over me this weekend and then this morning. And, you know, I just want to encourage you out there. And I thought about this myself. I just want to encourage you out there listening. You know, there is never a bad time to improve yourself. There's never a bad time to improve your quality of life, your quality of health, and to just commit to something, whether it's, you know, a hobby or a career, whatever it is. So I've just made the decision. I'm like, I'm going to do even more to be better moving forward, improve myself, improve my life, and thus the lives of those around me. So, you know what, just in case, it's a little late for a New Year's resolution, but if you will, but, you know, never too late to encourage people to better themselves, better their quality of life. So why not? I don't know. I'm feeling it. For some reason, I'm just feeling it. And so I'm feeling compelled to share that with you. All right. All righty then. Let's get back into the news. So I told you about this poll. And this trend has been happening for a while now, but it's overtaken the right wing. And I think that that's really why you see this shift. I think this is more about representative, how the right has changed on the issue of Israel. And, you know, the different factors here, I think for the left, you know, it's all kind of bleeding heart liberal stuff. That doesn't mean it's all wrong. Doesn't mean it's all bad. And obviously they have, you know, a very selective process about what the bleeding heart liberal is going to be concerned about. But, you know, they look at that. They look at the foreign policy. They look at the Israel angle from kind of the bleeding heart liberal angle of, oh, Israel's the oppressors and they're, you know, killing all these people, whatever. And, you know, I don't really think that that's where the right is coming from. I think the right is coming from now. It's like, it's more of kind of a political foreign policy thing. It's like, there's no doubt there's people on the right. There is a massive movement on the right that definitely shares a lot of the same sentiments about Israel. And you might even say Jews in general. But I think it's more directed at Israel and just the foreign policy. And I think the reason the shift has happened so much in the last couple of months, it's because Trump gets in and the American right, specifically the younger generation of American right-wingers, we're like, okay, this is our chance to drain the swamp. This is our chance to arrest the deep state. This is our chance for justice, retribution, however you want to say it, against all these crimes that have been committed against the American people, committed against Donald Trump. And so here we are 12 months in, and it's just all Israel. It's just all Israel's interests, all Israel donors. Everything just goes that way, that direction. That's the priority. And so right-wingers are sitting back here. It's all right in front of their eyes. They're not making it up. They're watching it happen. And so now it's like, okay, it's kind of more of a, we're just so sick of the Israeli involvement. We're just so sick of the Israeli influenced foreign policy that it's just like, just get out. Just go. So it's maybe less, judgmental of, oh my gosh, Israel just killed 100,000 people in Gaza and they're bombing 7 countries. That exists on the right. But I think for most people on the right, it's not even that they're sitting here looking at the Middle East or looking at what's going on in Gaza or Iran or any of these places. They mostly probably don't care. They're just saying, hey, can we prioritize America? Can we do things in America's interest and just leave the Israeli interest out of things? Can we just try that for an administration, maybe a decade? Can we just give it a try? And they're not getting it. So here's the new polls, and look at the swing. Look at the swing here in a year and a half.
Yeah, this war caused a historic shift in public opinion on how Americans view the Middle East conflict. What are we talking about here? Who voters sympathize more with the Israelis or the Palestinians? Back in October of 2023, it was the Israelis by 48 points. Look at this shift. Now we're talking about the Palestinians by a point. I looked back at every single poll that I could possibly find since this question was first asked in the 1980s. This is the first time ever in which the Palestinians had any sort of lead on this particular question. It is very clear that this war caused a historic shift away from the Israeli position in the Middle East conflict and towards the Palestinians when it comes to who Americans and voters sympathize with. This, of course, was led by Democrats, because what are we talking about? We went from Democrats favoring the Israelis by 26 points to the Palestinians by 46 points. That is a shift, John, quick math in my head, of over 70 percentage points. But overall, the first time ever in which more Americans sympathize with the Palestinians over the Israelis. Truly a historic shift.
So again, I think a lot of that on the left is the kind of the bleeding heart angle of, we don't like all the dead Palestinians or all the increasing war and tensions in the Middle East because of Israel's actions. But I think on the right, it's more of like a middle finger to the establishment. It's like, we're so sick and tired of Israel. We're so sick and tired of the Israeli lobby. Maybe they care about the Palestinians. Maybe they don't. I think it's just more of a F you. It's like, oh, you're going to sit here and tell me I have to be a slave for a foreign nation? How about F you? I side with the Palestinians. But I don't think that's really representative of where the right is at. You don't see right-wing protests waving Palestinian flags. You don't see right-wing protests chanting free Palestine. These are still left-wing stuff. So it's still kind of the left-wing issue. I think for the right, it's more of a America first issue. Please, Israel, get out of our business. And then this feeling of ultimate betrayal and disenfranchisement from this administration that has probably prioritized Israel more than any other administration, certainly in modern history, maybe in American history. And by the way, that's their own words. That's Trump's own words. But, they're not really doing themselves any favors here with some of their actions. So this is in Australia. We got a couple things out of Australia. Somebody put this projection onto an apartment building in Surfers Paradise, Australia, and it just says, genocide is a crime. Protesting and resisting our duty. And so all of the, pro-Israel stuff, it's just like in Australia, it's just the same. All the pro-Israel stuff in Australia aimed at the people, the propaganda. So it doesn't even say Israel. Nothing mentions Israel in this projection. But of course, all of the Australian Jews and this account are saying, oh my gosh, it's anti-Semitic. This is trash. How can you do this? How can we stop this? Well, let's not, let's not pretend to not know what's going on. But yeah, I'd say still it's pretty telling that you see a projection that says genocide is a crime and you take that personally. I'd say that's more of a statement on who you are than whatever it is you think is being protested here. If you are offended by the statement that genocide is a crime, then maybe that's because you're defending a genocide. Just saying. Just saying. And so then this happens in Australia. This has to be one of the craziest things you're ever going to hear of. I'll give you a little context. This is outside of a courtroom. So there is a lady in Australia who I guess happens to be Jewish. Nobody knew this. At least that's the claim. And she is a, fitness influencer. So she does stuff on social media. She helps people lose weight, get into better health. She just so happens to be Jewish. I don't even think that's really, I don't think anybody knew that. I don't think, as far as I can tell, she's not one of those that, brags about it and makes it all her identity. But nonetheless, so this woman is trying to lose some weight, and she's trying to hire this fitness influencer, Serena Tenori. She's trying to message her, and she's trying to hire her to help her get in better shape, lose weight, do some fitness stuff. And she doesn't hear back. So somehow she butt dials this lady. I guess her social media was open or whatever it is. She doesn't hear back from her for a couple months. And then, it happens. Everybody's done a butt dial a couple times. Just, it happens. You just hope that you're either aware of it before you're talking, or, you're not doing anything that might be embarrassing when the butt dial happens if they pick up. So this lady, and she's got a big butt. So, if your butt is big, does that increase the chances of a butt dial? I think so, right? I mean, that's just a matter of mathematics. If you have a bigger butt, then that's more area to have a butt dial with. So I guess if you're a big butt person, you got to think about these things. Maybe put the phone in the pocket. I don't know. The purse. So she does the butt dial. And this is just completely insane. I'll let the lawyer tell the story outside the courtroom.
What police allege was an anti-Semitic threat, the defense says was anything but.
This seems to be a case of charge first and answer questions later.
Serena Tenori charged with harassing Mandy Sacker, a nutritionist of Jewish faith.
I'm sorry, let me correct that. The Maddie Sacker is the weight loss influencer, and Serena is the lady that accidentally butt dialed her.
Serena Tenori charged with harassing Mandy Sacker, a nutritionist of Jewish faith she'd never met but seen on TV and social media. The alleged offending contained in a voicemail 1 week after the Bondi massacre.
All of the circumstances of this case point in one direction. It is an accidental call.
Serena's lawyer noting his client, who works at Bunnings, has a severe intellectual and cognitive disability supported by the NDIS.
She's not anti-Semitic. She doesn't even understand the conflict.
It's alleged Serena sent a text to Mandy, writing, "Hey, how are you? Is this Mandy? I saw somewhere that you helped Katie from Married at First Sight with her nutrition. I was wondering if you could help me as well, Serena." Around 5 hours later, a call from Serena's number went to Mandy's voicemail. No voices were heard on the recording, but Mandy claims she heard sounds she believed were gunshots, causing her immediate fear and nervousness.
It could be a bed creaking. It could be someone snoring.
The 26-year-old, who has also been hit with an AVO, pleaded not guilty today. The case is listed for next month, when a decision will be made on whether the charge is dropped or if the matter goes to a hearing.
And you were very shocked to hear you've been charged from police?
Especially with my mental health. Just wish people could understand.
Hayley Francis, 9 News.
So you can obviously see this lady, you can tell that there's probably a learning disability or something there. And she's also not very healthy. You can just see that not physically fit either. Folks, there's no gunshots in Australia. Okay, you're not in downtown Chicago. All right, you're not in East St. Louis. There's no gunshots. So she's probably hearing her just moving around in her chair and something creaking in the background, and she says, "Oh my God, it's a gunshot! Oh my God, it's anti-Semitism! She's threatening to kill me!" She didn't even know you were Jewish. She reached out to you because she wanted to hire you. Do you see what I'm talking about? This is the paranoid schizophrenia right now of a lot of Jews. And that's what it is. It's paranoid schizophrenia. It's trauma-based mind control. And the irony is, if you want to call it that, might be a little callous to call it that, but it is ironic. The reason why they have this paranoid schizophrenia, the reason why they have this trauma-based mind control is because of the Israeli lobby. They want you to be afraid of the world. They want you to think everybody is out to get you. They want you to think there's a Nazi or an anti-Semite lurking around every corner. They want to make sure that any case of violence against a Jewish person is the biggest story so that all these other people, sit here and shake in fear. And this is the paramount example of that. No pun intended. But this is the paramount example of that. She hears noises on a butt dial call and thinks this is an anti-Semite threatening me because she thinks she hears gunshots. You've lost your mind. You're actually more mentally ill than that lady is. You are engaged in paranoid schizophrenia and trauma-based mind control. And it's all by design. It's all by design. So that you can have these moments and have these freakouts and then say, oh, see, we need to have anti-Semitic speech laws. We need to have, you can't say anything bad about Israel or boycott Israel laws because whatever it is Israel is doing or is planning to do is so evil that they need to make sure that you can't talk about it, you can't post about it, you can't film it, you can't upload it. It has to have total blackout. Whatever Israel is getting ready to do or is currently doing, nobody can know about it. And so they create this trauma-based mind control. They create this paranoid schizophrenia that then puts all of these people in this state of fear and delusion so that they support the anti-free speech bills, so that they support anything that censors negativity about Israel on the internet, so that they can say, oh, my life is in danger. This woman called me and threatened me. And it's just, she probably did a butt dial and she probably farted. That's how insane this is. Ma'am, you heard a fart? Yeah. She calls the police. Oh my gosh, she threatened me. There were gunshots. Ma'am, that was a fart. Yeah, that was a butt dial and a fart. And now you've literally created an international case. And so again, it's like, this is why people are so sick of, call it Israel, say it's Jews, whatever you want. This is why people are so sick of it, folks, because it's totally insane. It's totally insane. It's like, you can sit here and you can talk about how propaganda in the entertainment industry, you can specifically the rap industry, you can talk about how the rap industry and making black single mothers has led to gangster culture in black youths. And then they commit crimes and acts of violence and fighting and all of this stuff. And it's like, okay, you can sit here and talk about what leads to that, and that's all okay. But don't talk about why this Jewish lady over here is such a paranoid schizophrenic that she hears a fart on a phone call and thinks that somebody's threatening her with guns. Like, don't talk about the culture that led to that. Don't talk about the propaganda that led to that. No. You're not allowed to talk about that. And it's just, and so people see it and they're just sick of it. Just like they're sick of it when they go downtown and they see a bunch of black teenagers robbing somebody who's playing his guitar on the street or starting a fight in 6th Street or anywhere else. And they just say, oh, here it is again. Oh, here's the culture. Here's the rap culture. Here's the industry that did this to them. But a Jewish lady hears a fart on a phone call and thinks it's anti-Semitic. That fart sounded like an AK-47, I swear. Oh my gosh. Crazy. All right, let's take a break from it. Let's take a break. And let's go to the ICE protests happening in Minnesota. So yesterday, Don Lemon got in touch with one of these groups, and we'll play a couple clips from Don Lemon here to try to get the best context that we can. But obviously, Don Lemon was tipped off in some degree. He had knowledge that this left-wing anti-ICE protest group was going to go disrupt this church service. So I'm going to play some of these videos. This is Don Lemon. You're going to see him in a second, but this is Don Lemon covering this inside the church while the protest is happening.
This is the beginning of what's going to happen here. When you violate people's due process, when you pull people off the street and you start dragging them and hurting them and not abiding by the Constitution, when you start doing all of that, people get upset and angry. And if you remember what the civil rights movement was about, the civil rights movement was about these very kinds of protests. There's nothing in the Constitution that tells you what time you can protest. You can protest at any time. That's the whole point of it, is to disrupt, it's to make uncomfortable. And that's what they're doing. And that's what I believe when I say everyone has to be willing to sacrifice something. You have to make people uncomfortable in these times. If you see how uncomfortable people uncomfortably, this is the beginning.
So here's what's incredible about that breakdown from Don Lemon. And I, for one, am grateful that he did this. But here's what's incredible about the breakdown. Notice how the policy standards here, let's call it social policy. Notice how the social policy standards that Don Lemon talks about here are never applied to the right. Never. Oh, the right wing isn't allowed to have a protest. Oh, when the right wing has a protest, say on January 6th, and people feel uncomfortable. No, that's a crime. That's no good. So that standard only applies to the left. Only the left is able to disrupt your life, do a protest like this, make people feel uncomfortable, not the right. So the standard only applies to the left, not to the right. So that's very telling right there, but I don't really think that's shocking to anybody. I don't think that's news to anybody. We already understood that. Now, here. You look at this, and this is where the left is just so propagandized. He says, oh, when people's due process and their rights are being violated and citizens are being rounded up. Look, there are probably mistakes being made. And this is a massive operation and mistakes have been made. But that's not what's going on. Let's be honest. That is not what's going on here. ICE is going after illegal aliens. They're going after criminals. That's what's happening here. And they just pretend like, oh, it could be anybody. It could be me. It could be you. It's just random. They're just taking anybody off the street. It's just the Gestapo. And it's just none of that is happening. None of that is happening. Well, this was all going on while Pam Bondi was addressing who she works for in Florida with Marian Adelson. But she finally addressed this late last night. So it was about 10 hours. While this was happening, she was addressing her bosses in Israel. And then late last night, they finally addressed what happened in Minnesota. So Don Lemon is apparently feeling some heat here. And he might have been addressed directly. But he's feeling some heat now because he could face a criminal violation of the FACE Act. Okay. Now, don't ask me my opinion on who's right and who's wrong. I'm just covering this. Okay. That's what we're going to do here. We're just going to cover this. But Don Lemon is apparently feeling the heat. So he posts this video, and there's something very important. This is why I'm glad Don Lemon did this. He says something very, very important in this video. Okay. And I'm looking at it like this. And this is why I'm not really here to tell you an opinion on this. You shouldn't be protesting inside of a church. Okay. I think we can all agree with that. It's not the time. It's not the place. But the truth is now, folks, if you go to church or you go to synagogue or you go to any place of worship, whether you're Jewish, Muslim, Christian, whatever, you better have amplified security. Now, I know it's a lot harder when some of these churches don't have the funding and nobody gets the government funding like the security state for Israel does. So the synagogues get, we basically subsidize security for Jews in these synagogues. I don't think Christians get that. I don't think Muslims get that. So you need to have, rich people or donors or somebody add to that security. But if you're in a place of worship, I don't care what your faith is, you better have amplified security. And yeah, I would say especially probably if you're Jewish. Yeah. So, okay, that aside, listen to what Don Lemon says here. He says something so important, which takes me right back to Pam Bondi. And I say, again, this is all because Pam Bondi's in action here. This is why it's happening. Listen to what Don Lemon says as he's now, I guess, thinking that the DOJ might be coming after him. And so this is his response now, fearing that the DOJ might target him.
MAGA administration and the fake news MAGAs are losing their mind over something that's not even true. So let me just make it clear, because this assistant attorney general, I don't know, what's her name? Something Hammett.
He's talking about Harmeet Dillon. You know, I got to say this, and I've got another example coming up later on in the show. And, you know, I admit, and I say this plenty, that I have an addiction to media, an addiction to news. But, you know, it's like, how do you not know who Harmeet Dillon is and you're in the media? Like, how do you just, I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But I feel like if you're in the media, you should probably know who Harmeet Dillon is. If you're covering the Trump administration and you're engaging in these protests, you should probably know who Harmeet Dillon is. And the fact that you don't tells me that you really don't care and that you're not paying that close of attention. We'll have another example of this with a leftist later on in the show, but this is Don Lemon. Oh, he doesn't know who Harmeet Dillon is? How could you be so ignorant?
Dillon or whatever. So I have no affiliation.
And isn't it funny too? Again, it's Harmeet Dillon that is addressing this before Pam Bondi. And people can have problems with Harmeet Dillon, whatever. I like Harmeet Dillon. It's the same issues you have with everybody else, whatever. Harmeet Dillon seems to be more in tune with what's going on than Pam Bondi. Harmeet Dillon has beaten Pam Bondi to the punch on almost all of these big issues now. Harmeet Dillon beats Bondi to the punch. And so that's why Don Lemon is responding to Harmeet Dillon, because Harmeet Dillon beat Pam Bondi to the punch on this situation. And I guess that's because Pam Bondi was busy with Adelson while Harmeet Dillon was doing her job.
Affiliation to that organization? I didn't even know they were going to this church.
Here, I'm sorry. I talked over the important part here. So here's the big part.
I had no affiliation to that organization. I didn't even know they were going to this church until we followed them there. We were there chronicling protests.
So did you hear that? Did you hear that, Pam Bondi? There was an organization that funded and organized and activated this protest. Did you hear that? There was an organization. The same organizations that Pam Bondi said she was going to shut down. The same flow of money, the same infrastructure that Pam Bondi said she was going to identify and shut down, and hasn't done it. And now they just invaded a church. So Pam Bondi, if you're paying attention, if you're done prioritizing Israel and hanging out with Marian Adelson and getting your hair dyed with Adelson, maybe those two blondes are getting their hair dyed right now. Very important stuff. So whenever you're done with your blonde hair dye, with bleaching your hair with Marian Adelson, maybe you can address this. I would call Don Lemon and say, what was the organization? Can you give me some information? And if you don't want to cooperate, maybe we will look at a FACE Act. Pam, what are you doing? Seriously, what are you doing? There it is right there. Don Lemon just told you this was organized and funded and activated by an organization, and Don Lemon has a contact with the organization, and he has knowledge of the organization. Does Pam Bondi? Oh, boy. Oh, boy, Pam. Pam, this is embarrassing. This is embarrassing. Don Lemonhead has more knowledge of these leftist protest organizations than you do. Yikes. And folks, it's so bad. Pam Bondi is so incompetent or distracted. You remember a month ago when they said that Scott Bessent was going to have to take this over? And I mean, I don't know if that was serious or if it was like, hey, we got to take some heat off Bondi right now. And they said, oh, Scott Bessent, because he seems to be one of the few that's even competent in this administration. And he's already in Davos. They said, oh, Scott Bessent is going to be taking charge of this investigation of the organizations and the funding and everything else. And it's like, well, that's not really his job. So he's having to do Pam Bondi's job because she's so incompetent. And then nothing really came of that because I think it was mostly just like, hey, let's kind of take some heat off of Bondi here and distract. So there you go, Pam. Give Don Lemon a call. Maybe he can help you because he seems to know more about this than you do, Pam.
Once the protest started in the church, we did an act of journalism, which was report on it and talk to the people who were involved, which included the pastor, members of the church, and members of the organization. That's it. It's called journalism. First Amendment, all that stuff. For all of you people who believe in the First Amendment, absolutist, there you go. So
now let me ask you a question. I'll get Don Lemon off the screen here. Do you disagree with what Don Lemon is saying? I think it's a fair question. I think we need to just take a breath here, forget about who he is or what he represents, and just ask, do we agree with Don Lemon? Because with the details that we have, it looks like probably somebody reached out to Don and said, hey, we're going to do this protest, or maybe Don initiated the conversation. He's obviously not running these operations. But he had prior knowledge of it enough to be there to do an act of journalism, as he says, to document it and interview the people involved. Now, I have a hard time disagreeing with Don. I got to be honest. I have a hard time disagreeing with Don because if it's true that he had nothing to do with the organization, he had nothing to do with organizing it or fundraising for it or anything like that, and he just got a tip and he went there to cover it, and when they went inside, he followed them inside. Let's keep our consistency here, folks. I mean, isn't that what we talked about on January 6th? And, let me just add a little something here, and we'll go back to the church. Because this has come my way in a couple different circumstances, and I'm just like, I really don't even care to address it. But in this vein, I think maybe it's time. Folks, there were a lot of journalists that were there on January 6th that went into the Capitol or broke Capitol grounds that never got charged. There were a lot. Okay. And it's not like I'm not here calling them out. A lot of them are friends of mine. But there were a lot. Okay. There were a lot of journalists that, would have committed, let's say, the same crime, quote unquote, that I got charged with that never got charged. Probably dozens of them. So, okay, there was obviously selective prosecution. We know why they went after me. They wanted to make an example of me, and they thought that they could find something on Alex Jones in my phones, in my emails, in my texts, whatever. So just maybe that'll help for people that keep asking these questions about why was Owen charged and nobody else. They wanted to make an example of me because I'm one of the few people on the right that actually goes into the arena live and calls these people out to their face. I go to their hearings. I go to their grounds. I go to their events. I created an entire genre of it, and you see everybody else doing it now. So that's why they wanted to make an example out of me, because they wanted to say, hey, if you're a right winger and you dare come to our events or cover our events or disrupt our events or call us out to our face, then you're going to get the same fate as Schroyer. You're going to prison. So, and they also wanted to get access to my phone and my email and everything else to look for any evidence against anybody else, which obviously there was none, and thus nobody else got charged. But that's why they came after me. And this might come up. This might come up with some other legal stuff this year. It might. Dealing with maybe yours truly. But understand, there were dozens of other journalists, influencers, however you want to put it. There were dozens that broke the Capitol grounds, went into the Capitol, all that stuff, and never got charged. Dozens. So you can pick out one or two or whatever and ask questions, but you need to know there were dozens. Okay? There were dozens. And would you not argue, as I would, as I did, they were journalists. If you're at the Capitol filming this as a journalist and all this goes down, you're filming as a journalist. So let's just try to remain consistent here with Lemon. But I would still call Lemon and say, Lemon, what information do you have about these operations, these organizations, the funding, the organizing, everything? What can you tell us for our investigation? It's like, that's what they did to me. So then they publish these stories like, oh, Schroyer cooperated with the FBI. There was nothing to cooperate with, folks. There was nothing there. That's what I'm saying. It's like people take it as the opposite of what it is. It's like, yeah, I gave the FBI everything because there was nothing to hide. It's like, this was my proof of innocence to everybody. And so they then just twist it, but I'm getting off track. So the point is, I kind of stand with Don Lemon on this issue, to be honest. I do. Now, I'd still call him and I'd say, well, Don, you did go in there and maybe we got you on something here. But hey, you know what? We don't have to charge you. Now, I give this advice to Don Lemon. I will say this to Don. Hey, Don, don't trust anything the feds say to you. Don't trust anything they say to you. And if you're going to make an agreement with the feds, you better get that in writing and you better get that signed and stamped and sealed and delivered because the feds' word means nothing. Means nothing, Don. Trust me on that. So if you do end up making a deal, make sure you have it signed, sealed, and delivered in writing because otherwise you can't trust these people. They'll lie to you. They'll trick you. They'll deceive you, and they'll throw you in prison. So if I was Don, or I was the DOJ, that's what I'd do. I'd call Don Lemon. I'd say, all right, we can cut you a deal, but we're going to need some intel. And if I'm Don, I'd say, okay, well, I don't mind. Although he might tell them F off and decide to take that route. Or he could say, look, here's the organization and this is what I got for you. And so I'll give it to you, but I want signed and delivered that you're not going to charge me with anything. And then they can make that deal. But I tell you, I got to say, I think Don is kind of, I just want to remain logically consistent, folks. And I would never call for the journalists on January 6th to deal with the same punishment I had to deal with. I would defend them to this day. So I have to remain logically consistent and say, well, that would apply, I think, here to Don as well. But I still think they should call him in for questioning. I do. I do think that. And now you're getting into the debate of First Amendment territory and going into a church. So that's going to be up for interpretation. That's going to come into the courtroom, I would anticipate. But that requires the DOJ to do something about it. So we'll see if any of that happens. Now, this is Don Lemon. Now, this is where Don Lemon goes into asshole mode. So excuse me. So I was just defending Don Lemon. Now let's go the opposite, because this is where Don Lemon shows the lemon that he really is. So he's interviewing the pastor here, and let's watch how it goes.
What do you think of this? I mean, this is unacceptable. It's shameful. It's shameful to interrupt a public gathering of Christians in worship. So,
but there were folks who will.
I have to take care of my flock.
Okay, but listen, we live in there's a constitution in the First Amendment to freedom of speech and freedom to assemble and protest.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship Jesus because that's the hope of these cities. That's the hope of the world is Jesus Christ.
I want to be very respectful. Please don't push me, though.
We're here.
Oh, stop. Oh, stop. Please don't push me. Stop. Nobody's touching you. What is that? Please don't push me. Nobody's pushing you. You just went in on an invasion into his church. What a joke.
We're here to worship Jesus. Yes. That's why we're here. Yeah. Okay. That's why we're here. Okay. That's what we're about.
Don't you think Jesus would be understanding
we're about
and love these folks?
We're about spreading the love of Jesus.
But did you try to talk to them as a
no
Christian?
one is willing to talk.
Okay.
I have to take care of my church and my family, so I asked that you actually would also leave this building.
You don't want us to
unless you're here to worship. Unless you're here to worship.
I'm always worship. I'm a Christian.
We're here to worship. We're here to worship. Okay.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
So I'd say handled pretty well by that pastor. Now, there's some scenes from outside. Sorry, I'm trying to look at this screen here before I put this video up. There's some scenes from outside where you're watching them getting harassed. So here's let's again look for logical consistency here. And let's just be honest about what this is. This was anti-Christian bigotry. That's what this was. These leftists hate Christians, and that's why they went into that church service and did it. So really, this was a hate crime. And everybody knows damn well, as sure as I'm sitting here right now behind the Golden Win microphone, that if that happened at a Jewish synagogue, every single one of those protesters would be arrested and charged with a hate crime. Everybody knows that. Everybody and their mama knows that. Will that same approach be taken to these Christians? That is 110% a targeted attack on Christians. 100%. That's exactly what it was. They chose a church, and they chose a Christian church because they hate Christians. That is a anti-Christian bigotry crime. Now, I'm not for hate crimes. I don't like, hate crime as an element in the judicial system. It's either a crime or it's not. But everybody listening to this knows damn well, if that was a Jewish synagogue and they did that, every single one of those protesters would be arrested and charged with a hate crime. So I wonder if that same standard will apply towards Christians. I wonder. I really do. Now, Christians in general don't have the same level of vengeance factor, and they don't have the same level of paranoid schizophrenia that anybody that commits an act against them needs to have their lives destroyed. So I think because of that factor, you will not see this approached as you would if it was a Jewish synagogue. But nonetheless, here's evidence. This is outside of the church. They know these are Christians going to church. Listen to what they do.
Fuck you fucking traitor. How dare you have a rainbow fucking umbrella, you Nazi bitch. How dare you try to steal that from our people.
All right. Did we all catch the hilarious irony there? Steal that from our people? Have you even read the Bible, bro? Do you even know about the flood and God's covenant with the rainbow? You stole that from Christians. No. That was a satanic theft. God and his covenant of the rainbow, that he would never flood the world again. So no, the rainbow is actually a biblical image, a biblical symbology of God's covenant with his people. So no, you Satanists stole that from the Bible and repurposed it. So no. The rainbow was not stolen from you sex perverts. You stole the rainbow from the Bible and repurposed it because you're Satanists.
Fuck you, you Nazi traitor. You indoctrinate these children so you can fucking rape them. Isn't that what it is, you fucking asshole? Is that what it fucking is, man?
Now, again, more projection. Who's indoctrinating children to get sex access to them? Who's indoctrinating children to get access to their private parts and have sexual conversations with them? This is all projection from these Satanists. You stole the rainbow from us? No, the exact opposite. You indoctrinate kids to get sexual access? No, the exact opposite. That's what you guys do. Unbelievable.
You think you're going to bring your kids here and we're going to spare you while you fucking support the bombing of children in Gaza? You fucking these fucking Nazis.
How do you even know they support that? You don't.
You little bitches. Goddamn. Be smarter than your parents. Your parents are fucking Nazis. You're such a Nazi little bitch. What the fuck is wrong with you? Why do you think you can just destroy our nation? Why do you think you can bring back white supremacy? Why do you think you're better than everybody else? What the fuck is wrong with you assholes? Oh, it's funny, fucking Nazi piece of shit. What are you worshiping? You're fucking taking fucking whiskey shots with Hezgath. Be honest. Look at it. He laughed. He laughed because he knows it's true. You guys aren't fucking worshiping. Look at this bitch ass. You're worshiping. Look at this fucking little bitch ass little American pin. Look at this little bitch ass kid. Look at him. Yes. Yeah, move on, you punk ass bitch. You will be judged not by a god, but by a court of law, you fucking Nazi fuck.
All right, you get the point. It goes on. So now we're going to go to these ICE protests where law enforcement is basically AWOL. And we actually have a statement from the administration on that. And, it's probably not Christian behavior, and I'm not endorsing this. Let me be clear. I'm not endorsing this. I'm not promoting this. I'm not encouraging this. I'm just saying, that's kind of the situation where you just beat a guy's ass. That's kind of a situation where, you're with your congregation or you're with a group of men or whatever, and the guy doesn't shut up. And so you just, you kind of congregate for a second. You tell the women and children, you say, hey guys, here's a $50 bill. Here's my credit card. Go into that coffee shop for a second. All right, guys, just leave daddy for a minute here. Go into that coffee shop. Go get a taco over there. We're gonna handle some business real quick. So, okay, mom takes the kids, the kids and moms all go and they go get a coffee or go get a taco or something. And then the dads stand up and they and they say, all right, buddy, are you done? Are you done? No. Okay. We're going to beat your ass. All right. We're going to beat your ass. And we're going to stuff you into a trash can. All right. We're going to take out the trash. That's what we're going to do. So this is your last chance to just go about your day. Just go about your day. Just leave us alone here. Leave my family alone. Leave us alone to worship. Okay. We don't want to do this, but if you're not going to do this, if you want to put that bullhorn in our face one more time, we're just going to go ahead and beat your ass and stuff you in that dumpster in the alley over there. All right. So, okay. So I'm not promoting that, whatever. But what's sad is that if they did take those matters into their own hands, they would probably get charges. They would probably be arrested, and they would have to hire lawyers and go through all of that stuff. Meanwhile, you have all these ICE protesters out there committing acts of violence against law enforcement, going into churches. I mean, how is that not? I mean, that's just a crime right there. You can't do that. You can't put an amplification device in somebody's face like that. It's a crime. That's assault. I mean, I don't know the laws in Minnesota, but I'm pretty sure they have similar laws here in Texas. You can't just shove an amplified sound device in somebody's face, folks. You can't do that. It does cause damage to your eardrums. It's like, I don't need to get into the specifics. But it's like, okay, if we have a healthy civilization, if we have a healthy society, then, if the guy doesn't stop, the men just get together and say, we're going to beat your ass and stuff you in a trash can. And law enforcement says, yeah, they look the other way. So if law enforcement is going to stop these hooligans, if law enforcement is going to stop these terrorists, then yeah, good men are eventually going to stand up and do it, folks. You can only push good men so far. And I'm already hearing a buzz about the Proud Boys going up there and some of these other groups that we saw when this happened in the first Trump administration kind of reorganizing and reactivating. The problem is then law enforcement comes after you. The local police will watch these leftist protesters burn buildings, attack law enforcement, raid churches, disrupt the public, and they won't do anything. And then as soon as good men show up to take care of it, then the cops spring into action and make sure that those good men get charged. That's the problem here. And that's why you see this going on. So it's all building. Let's take the final break here. We'll come back and cover some of the activities this weekend in Minnesota to put a cap on this. And then we got a big stack of geopolitical news, some other odds and ends for you today on the Owen Report. Final break of the show, and we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Owen Report on the Win Network.
No one can stop this. No one can stop this. No one can stop this.
No, no, stop. No, no, stop.
It's the fastest 3 hours on the internet. It's the Owen Report with Owen Schroyer.
No, no, stop. No, no, stop.
All right, third and final hour of the Owen Report today. I peeked into the comments for a second. Always entertaining in the comments. We'll get to your super chats at the end of the show, as we always do. We'll get to the super chats at the end of the show. I think we're going to have time for phone calls today. We still got a lot of news. So let's dive right back in, shall we? We shall. So I got a lot of this. I may try to speed through this for the sake of time, but all kinds of protest footage from Minnesota, including here. Where, you can see firing fireworks at police. They're firing explosive devices at police. So what do we do here, guys? We already went through this in the first Trump administration. And my interpretation of Trump's inaction in 2020 with the BLM riots, and before that with Antifa and everything else, was he kind of figured it was good for him politically. He figured it was good for Republican voter turnout and for him to run again. He figured, well, if this is how the left is going to behave, let's just let him do it. The enemy is hurting it. Maybe there was no debates or whatever. But ultimately, I think Trump just figured this is good for my reelection chances, for these leftists to go out here and behave like this. So he didn't do anything. Well, that factor is off the table. He can't run for re-election. Planning on it. But I mean, this is outrageous. It's only getting worse, guys. It's only getting worse. And anybody who's watching this has noticed one thing sticks out. Specifically, I was following Nick Sortor's work, and I don't have the video. I'm not going to bother pulling it up. But Nick he's being chased and harassed and stalked. They stole property from him, and I think it was Cam Higbee who was with him when they were filming this. And Cam is like, where are police? This is unbelievable. And, again, folks, I just feel like I've said this before, but for me, this was the best advice. I think the best advice I was ever given as far as my career was concerned from Kevin Slayton. Many of you may be aware of him. That's it's kind of my first inspiration in media, who I worked for years. And, I try to learn from him, pick his ear, pick his brain, pick his ear. What, does anybody even say that? I think I just made that up. Don't do that. No, I'm picking his brain, and he said, Owen, the best advice I can give you is find a void and fill it. Find a void and fill it. And at that point in time, the void for me was people weren't going out and covering the stuff in the street. They weren't going out and confronting the left-wing protesters. They weren't going out and confronting the liberal ideology right there to their face. They weren't going out and confronting the Democrats right there to their face. So that was a void in 2015, 2016, 2017 that I was filling. Well, I don't really feel that void exists anymore. Now I feel like the void of somebody on the right that tries to remain, well, I'll get to that later. The point is, there's plenty of people that cover this stuff now. I don't feel I need to go out there and do it. I might get back into that action, but I'm not really aching to do it. I'll be honest. But anyway, so Cam posts that, and I say, here's the problem, Cam. I did this work for 10 years, and crimes were committed against me probably 100 times on film. And I can take the evidence to police. I can take license plate numbers. I can take pictures of their face, their videos, the crimes they committed, everything, all of it. And for those that have been watching me for 10 years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I only got one charge to stick, ever. One. For the dozens of times I was assaulted, guns pointed at me, spit on, punched, grabbed, property stolen, you name it. Let's say 100 times a crime was committed against me and I gave evidence to police, or they saw the whole thing, and only one time did the charge stick. Once. One time. And ironically, this was in D.C. So I see Cam out there. He's filming Nick Sortor getting assaulted and stalked and robbed. And he's like, where are police? What are they doing? Well, the police are absent. But I just said, Cam, I was like, this is it. This is what you're going to have to deal with now. You're out in the field. You're putting yourself out there. You're covering this. Don't expect police to have your back. And that's not a knock on police. Let me be clear. That is not a knock on police. In fact, most of them probably are nodding their head. Yes, this is true. That's just the reality. The police are not going to have your back out there. That is just the reality. I know from experience. So they're witnessing this. They're witnessing getting stalked and harassed and assaulted and stolen. They're like, where are police? They're not going to have your back, even if they are there. That's how it's always been. But here you go. Stephen Miller addresses this. Only federal officers are upholding the law. Local and state police have been ordered to stand down and surrender. There it is. So you're not seeing the cops because they're not there. They are not there. Now, here's a confrontation between an ICE agent and a protester. And, well, you might say this is a little comic relief. But this is the reality. And unfortunately, there is no reasoning with these liberals. There's no reasoning with these leftists. They're bat crap crazy. But here's an attempt by an ICE officer.
We're here to arrest a child sex offender. And you guys are out here honking.
No, we're pressing.
That vehicle right there is honking and impeding our investigations while we're trying to arrest a child sex offender. That's who you guys are protecting. Insane.
Yeah. You're telling me. It's totally insane. And that's what they do. That's who they are. Yeah. You want another hint of who they are? Again, I've dealt with this before. Listen to what this lady realized in Boston. What is their tactic? If you're an ICE officer in Boston, get ready for this.
People in Boston are putting out little containers where you can dispose of your dog's poop, and they're collecting it to throw at frozen water people. Don't even come at me because I don't have a dog. I will not be participating because I don't have a dog. But, did you learn nothing from the Tea Party? People in Boston are putting out little containers where you can dispose of your dog's poop, and they're collecting it to throw at frozen water people.
In Boston, they are collecting dog shit to throw at ICE agents. And again, this is not a new tactic. They've done all this crap. They throw urine bags at you. Some of them mix concoctions. God knows what is in it. They throw this crap at you. Stink bombs. Oh, my goodness. Oh, boy. Oh, I'm having relapses in my mind here. All the crap we dealt with, man. Some of y'all probably witnessed it yourself. Some of y'all are probably out there with me when we dealt with some of this stuff. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. I'm sorry. These protesters are like, you can't even believe they're real people, man. They can't be. They have to be NPCs. They have to be NPCs. These cannot be real people. If you are putting dog shit into a bag to throw at ICE officers, you are not a real person. Okay? There is something has gone terribly wrong. Something has gone really wrong in this instance here. But I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised one bit. We've seen it before. So now, try to speed run through this. So now you've got, of course, it's all starting. It'll heat up eventually. Trump supporters get into a fight with anti-ICE protesters downtown Sacramento. So you're going to start seeing these standoffs. Whatever, pro-American people. And ICE protesters. Get ready for that. That is now inevitable. We've seen this all before. And there's kind of this space between the people that have been, doing this since 2015, 2016, and now the people that have kind of popped up since 2024 that are seeing all of this really for the first time. And they're so shocked by it all. And we're just sitting here like, oh, yeah. Yep. Yeah, I remember that. Nothing new. Nothing new under the sun. Oh, liberals are throwing feces at people. Yeah, well, that's what they do. All right. Let's get into the geopolitical now. We got a lot of geopolitical news here. So this is from Trump. This is to Norway's Prime Minister Jonas Gahr Store. And, this is in the standoff for Greenland. So Trump sends this to Norway's Prime Minister. Dear Jonas, considering your country decided not to give me the Nobel Peace Prize for having stopped 8 wars plus, I no longer feel an obligation to think purely of peace, although it will always be predominant, but can now think about what is good and proper for the United States of America. Denmark cannot protect that land from Russia or China, and why do they have a right to ownership anyway? There are no handwritten documents. It's only a boat that landed there hundreds of years ago, but we had boats landing there also. I've done more for NATO than any other person since its founding, and now NATO should do something for the United States. The world is not secure unless we have complete and total control of Greenland. Thank you, President DJT. All right. I feel like Trump's narcissism and ego has peaked. And it's not just about this letter. It's about the whole thing. Everything's the greatest. Everything's the biggest. And that's always the Trump brand. But I mean, what? Because you didn't give me the Nobel Peace Prize for stopping all these wars, I no longer think of peace. And now I'm finally going to think about what's for the United States. I mean, that is quite an opening remark. And it's almost like I can't take it seriously. I mean, obviously you can't take it seriously. But yet there it is. Yet there it is from the president to the prime minister of Norway. Just, I don't even know how to characterize that. Of course, there's the irony of supporting Israel and claiming you're for peace while they bomb 7 countries that we fund. So no, you're not the peace president you claim to be. And says now he can think about what's good for the United States like he wasn't before. Well, that's okay. Interesting admission. And then says he's done more for NATO than any other person since its founding. What are we doing here? It's all crazy to me. Why, Trump? Why are you doing anything for NATO? Is the real question. And why do you want Greenland so bad? Now, I'm still like, hey, I'm for the Greenland annex. I'm still for it. I just don't see any negatives. And I think we get a little taste of that after something that happened this weekend. But, I mean, clearly this is not – there's other interests involved here. Clearly there are other interests involved here beyond just Trump or the United States of America. There's obviously special interest and foreign interest at play here. Let's not pretend like that's not going on. And it's just like, well, what are you doing here negotiating with NATO that tried to have a standoff with you? What are you doing here talking about, oh, it's all about the Nobel Peace Prize? Like, oh, you didn't fluff my ego enough. I mean, what? Just, it's like, you know what, Donald? Just come out and say it. Hey, my big donors want all the raw minerals and resources in Greenland. We're the superpower. We're taking it. And if you get in our way, we're breaking with NATO. Just say it. Just say it. And even go a step further. Say, and once we take Greenland, we're going to remove all of our troops out of Europe, especially the countries that won't cooperate. We're done playing defense for you, and we're going to move everybody to Greenland, and we're going to play defense for America. And he also says we need this for the Golden Dome, which to me is just like, yeah, that's just bad news, folks. I tell you, that one breaks my heart, I think, more than anything else. Because to me, that tells me we're going to get bombed. I don't know how else to interpret this. If we believe we need air and missile defense systems like the Golden Dome, like the Iron Dome they have in Israel, that means they're anticipating they're going to piss off the world so much that we have to have this system because somebody's going to try to bomb us. That is so tragic to think that this is what we're going to leave our lineage with. This is what we're going to leave future generations of Americans with, is a country that needs a Golden Dome because we're about to commit so many crimes around the world that people are going to want to bomb us just like they have to do in Israel. That is the most heartbreaking thing I think this administration has done. I'm dead serious, by the way. I'm dead serious. The fact that we think we have to have a Golden Dome to protect our country, that's the state that we're going to leave our country in. That's the state that the boomers are going to leave younger generations of Americans with. We need the Golden Dome for defense. That has to be the most tragic thing ever. Imagine explaining that to your kids and grandkids. Yeah, sorry, because of the Trump administration, we angered a bunch of people that want to bomb us now. So yeah, we have to live like they do in the Middle East. I think that's the most tragic case that we've seen from this administration amongst all of it. Bigger than the Epstein cover-up, bigger than all of it, folks. Because all of that kind of has an encapsulation factor. That's just leaving something for the future that they don't have to deal with. It's disgusting. It's the darkest thing I think that this administration has done, I have to say. But here was the standoff with NATO. And, of course, what do you know? We won. NATO's show of force fizzles as German troops exit Greenland after 2 days as Trump aims to acquire islands. So NATO sent a couple dozen people over there as their military force to stop Trump. And they pretty much all just turned around and went home immediately afterwards when Trump said, we're going to tariff you. So that's about how long that standoff went, a couple dozen hours. Now, Putin, I still say Putin appears to be understanding this stuff more than anybody in the international theater. And he actually came out in support of Trump annexing Greenland. Now, he's speaking in Russian here. So I'll just read the transcript as Putin is talking. The United States' plan to annex Greenland may only surprise at first glance and lead to the mistaken belief that these are merely extravagant remarks by President Trump. In fact, the United States had such plans as early as the 1860s when the administration considered annexing Greenland and Iceland, but the idea lacked congressional support at the time. In 1910, a trilateral deal was prepared to exchange territories between the United States, Germany, and Denmark, which would have granted Greenland to the United States, but the agreement ultimately fell through. During World War II, the United States established military bases in Greenland, and after the war, it offered to purchase the island from Denmark. In summary, the United States has serious plans regarding Greenland. These plans have deep historical roots, and the United States will continue to systemically advance its geopolitical, military, political, and economic interests in the Arctic. So that's Putin. That Trump is claiming, he needs Greenland and protection from Putin. Look, you make statements like this and it comes with a lot of weight. But folks, it seems to me that Vladimir Putin is the most grounded politician in the international theater today. It really does. He seems to have the best grasp of history. He seems to have the best grasp of the constant shifting sands of the geopolitical world. He seems to understand how to best communicate with other world leaders. And the only issue that Putin has is the false idea that Europe has to hate Russia, or this ancient Cold War foreign policy that the United States still engages in. It's like if you remove those two hurdles, which Putin has tried to remove multiple times, then Putin really emerges as the leader of the world in a way. So, people, whatever, they say bad things about Putin, and it's just like anywhere else in Russia. Putin has his haters and his lovers, just like everywhere else in the world with political leadership. But I don't hear any other world leader talk with such historical reverence than you do Vladimir Putin. I don't hear any other world leader talk with the general understanding of modern day geopolitics as you do Vladimir Putin. And the fact that his restraint in the theater of Ukraine is underappreciated, it kind of just goes to show you, if you don't have all this anti-Putin, anti-Russian propaganda, the image, the interpretation of Vladimir Putin would be a lot better. It would be a lot better. Now, over the weekend, Trump announced his peace team and his peace board, or whatever it is, and it's exactly what you would expect it to be. And they're going to be taking charge of Palestine. And it's like, there's like 10 people. I think 8 of them are Jewish. None of them are Muslim. Tony Blair makes the list. Like, what the hell is that? So, yeah, okay. Yeah, we all knew that was the plan the whole time. And then he says this over the weekend. As Steve Witkoff announced, we have officially entered the next phase of Gaza's 20-point peace plan. What, Israel just keeps killing people? Since the ceasefire, there is no ceasefire. My team has helped deliver record levels of humanitarian aid to Gaza, reaching civilians at historic speed and scale. even the United Nations has acknowledged this achievement is unprecedented. These results have set the stage for the next phase. Now, I'm not even here to disagree that the levels of humanitarian aid getting into Gaza because of the Trump administration are probably better than they have ever been. I'm not disagreeing with that. Trump has just he just become this bloviating president that cried wolf. It's like, if everything is the biggest and the greatest and the best of all time, then nothing is. So it just gets old, man. It's just old, and it's just not true. This one might be true. But it's like when everything else is like that, it's just like, it's the boy that cried wolf. So, but this is the interesting part. As chairman of the Board of Peace, I am backing a newly appointed Palestinian technocratic government. What does that mean? Well, I'll tell you what I think it means. Let's finish the statement. The National Committee for the Administration of Gaza, supported by the board's high representative to govern Gaza during its transition. These Palestinian leaders are unwaveringly committed to a peaceful future. Well, what Palestinian leaders? You're literally going to put Jared Kushner in charge of it. So stop it. Palestinian technocratic government. I think I know what they're going to do here, folks. Now, Trump is the kind of guy who will, with this deal, try to have his cake and eat it too. And I think he's going to eventually piss Netanyahu off with this deal, because I think that Trump is going to give American Jews the control of Palestine. And of course, Netanyahu wants it for himself, and Netanyahu wants Israel to take the Gaza Strip and to take Palestine. And I think Trump is saying, no, no, no. We're giving it to the American Jews. We're going to control Palestine, not you, not Israel, not Netanyahu. We're going to give it to Kushner and the American Jews. And, there is a little strife between these two groups. Let's not leave that out of the conversation. And I know in the geopolitical world and Marion Adelson and Netanyahu and everything else, it seems that they're all connected and a well-operating machine. The American Jews and the Israeli Jews, when they get to these top levels, folks, sometimes it's not so smooth. So this, to me, this is Trump signaling he's going to give Palestine to the American Jews, but, they'll have Palestinian leadership. They'll have Palestinian government, and it sounds like that's the deal. So, okay, here's the deal. We're going to protect you from Israel. You're not going to have Netanyahu. You're not going to have the IDF. So we'll free you from Israel, but the American Jews are going to come in here. It'll be your country. You can have it. You can have the Gaza Strip, but we're going to come in here and we're going to basically build the infrastructure. We'll bring in BlackRock. We'll bring in Jared Kushner. And what you're going to have is a technocratic government. They're going to have the first AI government. They're going to have the first fully technological advanced run government. And, it'll just be the American Jews, tech, infrastructure, all of that stuff. And then the Palestinians will have like the political leadership, the political say, but it'll be really the American Jews that are kind of running the show, in charge of infrastructure, in charge of technology, in charge of resources. But the political leadership, the face, the voice, all of that will be Palestinians. But that's, to me, what this sounds like. It sounds like they're going to try for the first AI-run country, if you will, whatever that means. It sounds like that's what they're doing in Gaza. It sounds like that's the plan for the Gaza Strip. I don't know how else to interpret that, quite frankly. Perhaps your interpretation is different. But that's how I see it. Hey, Trump-endorsed Representative Maria Salazar introduces the Dignity Act, offering conditional legal status to undocumented immigrants present in the United States for 5+ years. Oh, so Trump-endorsed Salazar says, nope, we're actually going to keep the illegal aliens in America. Now, she's doing that because she wants to win re-election in Florida, but there you go. Do you know? So I really wish conservatives were actually conservative. I really do. Because they're really not at all. We should be outraged at what's going on in California. And maybe I kind of segue this back to the ICE stuff with Minnesota and the deportations. But anyway, so California, they have this mansion tax. Now, they deny it. They say, oh, California doesn't have a mansion tax. Well, these local jurisdictions do, like Los Angeles. So you got all these property sales. This is the mansion tax. You see them all on the screen. If you own a property over 3 or over 5 million, over 10 million, it's, an added tax, all this stuff. They also have a jock tax in some of these states. You have a jock tax in California. If you play sports, if you're a professional athlete, they tax you higher. They call it a jock tax. I mean, this is all un-American. This is all disgusting. So anyway, so they're doing this. Well, in Los Angeles, they've taken it a step further now. They've taken the mansion tax and they've raised hundreds of millions of dollars here. And think about it like this too. All you have to do in California is rig the market. So you say, oh, okay, we're going to put a number out. Oh, it's arbitrary. And we're going to put a number out. Okay, anything over 5 million, you're mansion tax now. Oh, well, now you just, all these properties are 5 million. So you synthetically increase the market value. And then all of a sudden, everybody's above this bar and you say, oh, you have to pay more taxes. So they get hundreds of millions of dollars with this tax. And guess what they're doing in the wealthy areas? In the Palisades, where they just burned everything down. They're building, quote unquote, affordable housing. So they've now wiped out the private homes, the family homes, and they're building these massive affordable housing, like Section 8 housing projects. And they're building these things all over California, and it's all being funded with the mansion tax. It's totally crazy. And so I'm sitting here, I'm looking at what's going on in Minnesota. I'm looking at what's going on in California. And I'm thinking, because we got to, what are solutions to this? We've been trying the same thing and nothing is working, right? I have an idea. And it's not a good idea, but it's an idea. And we got to try something. We don't want to be insane, do the same thing over and over again, expect a different result. I think I would try this if I was Trump. I'd say, okay, here's how we're going to do this. We are getting resistance in these blue states to our policies. We're getting resistance when it comes to regulation or slashing it. We're getting resistance when it comes to taxes and slashing it. We're getting resistance when it comes to deportations and ICE operations. And it's really not going well. We're not getting any cooperation, and it's just not working. So here's what I would do. I'd say, okay. If Minnesota doesn't want to deport its illegal aliens, if California, if all these states maybe make it a single issue and make it about deportations, you could make it about taxes, regulations, whatever. It's starting to get a little hairy there. So I just go with the deportations. I'd say, okay, here's the deal. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to bring in all the governors. And we're just going to lay it out. And we're going to say, here's the deal. We've got ICE operations set to take place in all 50 states. Here's what this looks like. What governors are going to support us and support ICE and help us engage in all of these deportations? Which governors? And it'll probably be a party line split. And the Republican governors will say, okay, we support you. And the Democrat governors will say, nope, we don't want anything to do with it. So I'd say, okay, fair enough. And depending on how far you want to go, you could even go as far as to say, all right, if you're not going to support us with the deportations, we're cutting all federal funding. Now, Trump has not really shown that he has that backbone. He has not shown the testicular fortitude to engage in that measurement yet. Maybe he could, but maybe you don't have to do that. And then just say, okay, fine. So here's how it's going to go. And then come out and make an announcement and say, all right, guys, here's the deal. These Democrat states are not going to cooperate with ICE, and now our ICE agents' lives are being put in danger. So we're calling it off. If you live in a blue state, if you live in a Democrat state, by the way, Minnesota is like almost the prime example. You haven't had a Republican win in a statewide election. You have not had a Republican win in 2 decades. Not in 2 decades has a Republican won. Why? Because they brought in all the illegal immigrants. Because they have how many millions of foreigners have moved to Minnesota in the last 20 years that the Democrats engage in fraud and corruption with so that they can get their votes and stay in power. So Minnesota is like the case and example of how Democrats import voters, engage in fraud and theft, and then win elections every election cycle. So I'm just coming out and I'm Trump and I'm saying, all right, here's the deal. The blue states are not cooperating with deportations. We're not going to put ICE agents' lives in danger anymore. It's too much. And the measurements that we would have to take at this point are just too extreme. You could cut federal funding if he wants to do that. I don't know if he would. He threatens it, never does. So just say, here's what we're going to do. We are now refocusing all of ICE efforts into the governors, the red states that will cooperate with ICE, will have their local police, everybody, whatever, state troopers, whatever it is. These red states, they're going to cooperate with the deportations. So we're focusing all of our efforts on that. And if you think about it, it's actually brilliant. Now, it sucks. If you live in a blue state, it sucks. So maybe time to get out. I know it's not fun. It's, that's kind of tough. But think about how perfect this would work. All of the red states would become illegal alien free. They'd all be gone. They would either voluntarily move to a blue state or they'd be deported. Either way, they're out of the red states. So the red states would thrive. The red states would pick up business. Maybe people start moving from the blue states into the red states. At some point, it's like you don't want a civil war. But at some point you say, okay, we'll do a cold civil war. You go ahead. If you want to let Democrats destroy your state, then go ahead. We got 50 states in this union. We're not going to let them destroy the entire country. We're not going to let them destroy every state. But you know what? Fine. If you guys want to vote for Democrats that are going to destroy your entire state, then just go ahead. We're out. So we're only sending ICE now into red states that we know are going to cooperate and help us with deportations. And you watch. The red states, all of the illegal immigrants will leave. They'll either be deported or they'll go to blue states. The fraud and the theft and all that in the red states, that'll go down to almost nothing. It'll all go to the blue states. And then in 4 years, you can actually sit here with a palpable example of what damage Democrat leadership does, and specifically on the issue of illegal aliens. That's what I would do. I'd give it a try. Because, these protests aren't going to stop. Bondi's not doing anything. Trump's not really doing anything. So do something. Say, fine, blue states, you want to collapse? You want to have illegal aliens? You want to have fraud? Go ahead. You don't want to cooperate with us? Fine, go ahead. Have at it. We will go into these red states and we will do these operations and we'll stop the fraud and we'll get the illegal aliens out. And then the red states will flourish and they'll be rich. And maybe we'll only give them federal funding now. That's how you do it. Anyway, that's what I'd do. But I'm just a podcaster like Dan Bongino, so, Hey, Brittany Thune-Lindbergh joins Alliant as vice president, mergers and acquisitions. This is the daughter of John Thune, now vice president as one of the biggest mergers and acquisition firms in the country. Yeah, let's say that's going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on, especially if you follow the stock market. You know what I mean? Chile declares state of catastrophe as deadly fires force 20,000 citizens to flee. The latest number I saw was 19 dead. Chilean authorities expect severe death toll from forest fires. Same thing we just saw in Argentina, folks. Somebody's starting these fires in the forest, burning them to the ground. The locals are being forced out, moved out. The land is being scorched to the earth. Exactly like we just saw in Argentina. As we're speed running through this, here's some of the scenes, though. It's wild stuff happening there. And they also believe that these are being done intentionally. Somebody's burning these forests to the ground in Chile, just like they did in Argentina. I think in a couple of years, I think we'll know exactly what happened there. I don't even think they'll hide it, to be honest. New York City's chief financial officer to defy Mayor Mamdani by purchasing Israeli bonds. These stories are crazy. Texas gives state money to Israel. Florida gives state money to Israel. New York gives state money to Israel. Why? Now, New York City Comptroller Mark Levin says he plans to reinvest New York City taxpayers' money in Israeli bonds. And Mamdani said he would divest. So I think you're going to have a standoff there. And we're not talking about cheap. I mean, we're talking millions, maybe hundreds of millions of dollars here, folks. New York pension fund may invest in Israel despite Mamdani saying he would divest. So, yeah, you're going to have a showdown here between Mamdani and Levin. And we'll see how that goes. By the way, you know, ICE is using this Israeli spyware called Paragon. Did you know it was actually Biden that signed this deal? This was last September. TechCrunch reports that U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement has reactivated a $2 million contract with Israeli spyware vendor Paragon. So the Biden administration said they weren't going to do this because of, the Israel issue. They ended up signing it anyway. And, I haven't really covered this because, I don't know. I haven't really seen the evidence. People are saying, oh, this is the IDF out there, or, oh, it's IDF, software, whatever they're using. And I don't know. I didn't really see any of that. I didn't see any proof that IDF was out there, or it was, I know that they train some of our military people or some of our law enforcement people, but I didn't realize that they were actually using Israeli spyware in these operations. So, okay. I wonder if that's the surface or if that's the bottom. I don't know. And then this drops over the weekend. Josh Shapiro with a book. Josh Shapiro writes that Kamala Harris' team asked if he had ever been an Israeli agent. So everybody knew that they didn't bring Josh Shapiro in because he's Jewish. Everybody knew that. Everybody talked about it at the time. But, Shapiro does have a lot of deep connections to Israel. Yeah, actually, he really does. So it's actually crazy. So you could say, well, maybe it's not such a crazy thing to ask. You've been involved in Israel your whole life. With his time there growing up and the IDF and everything else. The Kamala Harris campaign tried to keep an Israeli agent off of the ticket. So we all knew that it was like, okay, well, he's Jewish and that's not a good running partner. But now it's a little deeper than that. It's no, we didn't want an Israeli agent on the ticket, not a Jewish person. An Israeli agent is how they were looking at it. The EU has new sanctions on Iran. The EU condemns human rights abuses in Iran, as well as Iran's nuclear proliferation activities and its military support for Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine. It has adopted a number of sanctions in this regard. Okay, so the EU, it's standing up to the evil Iranians. But it's funny because during their hearings on this specifically, a couple of members of the EU stepped up and said, hey, how can we sanction Iran for human rights abuses and killing people, and we still haven't sanctioned Israel for these things? So those were some interesting moments at the EU. As Trump threatens Iran strikes, Netanyahu sees golden opportunity. And what opportunity is that? Well, Netanyahu came out and made some pretty extreme threats to Iran. Now, I'm not going to play it because he's not speaking in English here. So he speaks in English when he's propagandizing the American people. He speaks to the Israelis. He doesn't speak in English. But he basically threatened Iran and said, if you guys do anything, we're basically going to nuke you, is what he said there. Which makes sense, and I think Trump has alluded to this, actually. When he says, we struck Iran to stop World War III, I think that's because Netanyahu told Trump, if you don't strike Iran, we're going to nuke them. So we're going to nuke Iran, so you better strike them. And I think that's why Trump called Iran and said, they're going to nuke you. You got to let us come in and bomb this place, or it's going to be World War III. And so they did it, and they stopped World War III. But no, of course, not Israel. Israel would never do anything like that. No, Israel is preparing for something. Thousands rally in Jerusalem to demand ultra-Orthodox IDF enlistment. So Orthodox Jews are not forced into conscription in the IDF. And, I don't know if I could say most. It seems most. My interpretation is that most Orthodox Jews are against Israel or against the IDF or against Netanyahu. So then there were protests against the forced conscription. And there were way more Orthodox Jews. They said 1 million. They said 1 million Orthodox Jews showed up in protest of Netanyahu, the IDF, and the idea of forced conscription into the military. So that's what you're seeing right here. You can see they're all in the Orthodox garb. That's why it's all blacked out there. So way more Orthodox Jews showed up for that than the other rally that said they need to serve in the IDF. All right. How much time do we have left here before the super chats? Let's see if we can get all this out of the way. So this is more. We go back to the Israeli Council in Florida this weekend. Now, this is the moment that I think shows us, if we're trying to get a grasp on Marian Adelson, I think this moment shows it. So she's about to be asked here at the Israeli Council about how she owns all the politicians. Basically, the guy says, yeah, you buy all the politicians, and so why do you do that? Watch her response.
Miri, you and Sheldon created a lot of relationship over the years with politicians at the state level, especially at the federal level. I want you to share with everyone, why is it so important and how do you do it? Again, writing checks is part of it, but there is more than writing just checks. So how do you do it?
Can you allow me not to answer?
You choose.
It's more than writing checks. Well, that's an interesting thing. It's more than writing checks, and she doesn't want to answer. Now, of course, we can all take this in the obvious direction of blackmail, the Israeli blackmail operation that Jeffrey Epstein was running. But she doesn't want to answer the question. And she's kind of laughing and giggling about it. There's no point in playing the rest of it because it's basically this guy having to fill the time because she refuses to answer. So that's all she says. So he says, hey, you are very powerful. You basically control American politics and you cut all the checks, but it's more than that. And she says, oh, I'm not going to answer what the more of that is. It's probably blackmail. Now, I don't know if she has anything to do with the Epstein network or not, but she's probably acutely aware that, there's more than just the influence. She's the bankroller, but she's not really the controller. She's just the bankroller. She's not running blackmail operations. She just has all the money. I feel like this moment was very telling, though. And obviously, I don't know Marian Adelson personally, and there are plenty of people that do. But I found this moment to be very revealing of who and what Marian Adelson is. And you know what? She's probably a nice lady. She's probably, and maybe somebody like this. Maybe we all know somebody like this. It's an old lady, husband is dead and just has money, just has a ton of money and just doesn't really have any concern with spending it wherever she wants. Anybody comes up and says, hey, I need some money. She gives them money, especially in the world of politics. I've met some women like this in local politics. There's one woman specifically, same thing, all kinds of money, and just funds people in politics that she likes. And when I started to show up some of the stuff before the Republicans basically blackballed me, she was like, she would fund anything I wanted to do. She was like, my checkbook is yours. I'll fund anything you want to do. You want to run for office, get involved, whatever. I wasn't really interested in that. But it seems like that's kind of who Marian Adelson is. She's got all of her husband's money. She's an old lady. She's just, kind of ditzy, happy-go-lucky, but she's like spacey. She's like an airhead. Maybe all the fake blonde dye has gone to her brain or something. I don't know. It's like she's just this old lady that probably loves Israel more than anything else. And she's got all of her husband's money. She loves Israel. And so that's what she does. She just spends all of her husband's money to serve Israel. And, everybody knows it. Everybody knows it. Hey, just give Mary a call. Hey, you want to run from office? You need some money? Just give Mary a call. Just all you got to do is be loyal to Israel. All you got to do is serve Israel's interest and give Mary a call. She'll give you whatever money you want. And so we're seeing that now. That's exactly what we're seeing now. But I just feel like she doesn't even know what's going on. And I think that was the moment right there. She's finally realized what she's done. It's like she's finally realized that now everybody looks at her as this is the Israeli pocketbook, basically. This is why our country is run by Israel. This is why all of our Congress serves Israel and not America. And it's because of Marian Adelson. And I feel like for most of the past couple years, whatever, maybe since Sheldon died, she's just kind of done this. She's kind of spacey. She's kind of ditzy, whatever. She's just a rich girl running around. She's got all of her husband's money. She probably never even really understood what was actually happening. She just loves Israel and wants to make sure Israel is protected and spends all of her husband's money to buy Congress to do it. And they serve her and Israel and everything. Okay, we all know that. But I feel like she knows it now because she's never really shied away from this. Trump brags about how she owns Congress. Trump brags about how she cares about Israel more than anything else. And she's always smiling and waving and nodding her head and wearing the big gowns and dresses with the Jewish flag and everything else. And now it's like, that was the first time where it was like, hey, here's your opportunity to say like, yeah, I fund everybody. I do it for Israelis. And she says, I don't want to answer that. I feel like now she realizes what she's become. Whether she intended to be that or not, I feel like this is the moment where she's like, I realized what I've become now. And maybe it was never her intention, or maybe now that it's so obvious, she just doesn't want to say it anymore. But to me, that was very revealing right there. Hey, you buy all the politicians, you write all the checks. What is it all about? Nah, I don't want to answer that. Really? You've never hidden from this before. You've never backed away from this before. You're always front and center at all these events. Your checkbook is always open. But now you want to step away from this? Folks, everybody sees how unpopular Israel is now. Everybody sees it. And even Marian Adelson, who's like the proudest Jew, like the proudest, loudest, front and center, checkbook open, pro-Israel Jew in the whole world. And now even she is like, I don't want to say. I think that's pretty telling. And quite frankly, folks, I don't think there's anybody that follows Marian Adelson. Now, I don't know. AIPAC is going to find a way to get money. And AIPAC is going to find a way to hide where they get money or hide their involvement. They're not going away. But Marian is, she's not going to be around forever. And even if she does leave every single penny for AIPAC or Israel to spend on American politicians, it's a finite amount of money and time, folks. It's not unlimited. And that's why I think Israel is doing everything it can in this small period of time. And I think Trump is going along with it. They are pressing the gas because they know they only have a limited amount of time to reach that finish line. And so they're pumping the gas and they're going as fast as possible to cross that finish line before the funds, before the support, before all of it runs out. And I think that really explains why it's so overt and in your face, the blatant foreign policy and prioritizing Israel right now. I think it's pretty obvious that's what's going on. All right. We step away from the heavier stuff here for a moment. So I'm sure everybody saw over the weekend, Boys Night Out. Boys Night Out in Miami. You had all the popular, I don't know, kind of right-wing, pro-man, manosphere, however you want to describe it. They all went out. And they had a viral video. It's all of them in like one of these bus limousines, and they're playing Heil Hitler by Ye, and they're singing and dancing, totally viral. And it's funny because it's like, these are some of the top, influencers, streamers, however you want to say it, right? I mean, these are some of the top guys. They know what they're doing. They know what they're doing. They know how to get a viral video. So they're just probably sitting there like, hey, we're filming right now. Why don't we play the Heil Hitler by Ye? And it's just like, yeah, that'll go viral. Okay. So they do it, get, 100 million views. So then they go to the club in Miami. I mean, honestly, like they played the internet. They played the social media sphere. They played the Zionists like a fiddle. Like a fiddle. They're getting exactly what they want. And that's why it's so funny. It's like, it's so when your enemy, however you want to put it, we'll say enemy. Your opposition might be better. I don't think enemy would be fair. When your opposition is so easy to predict like this, when your opposition is in such a crazed state of mind, they're so easy to predict and they're so easy to play. So they knew exactly, hey, do a video with Heil Hitler. Oh, that'll drive them nuts. Okay, they do it. Hey, play it at the club. That'll drive them even more nuts. Okay, they do it. And they got exactly what they wanted. They got exactly what they wanted. They're all laughing about this whole thing. You think they give a damn? No, they're all laughing. So anyway, so now all these clubs are banning them. Now, I don't know anything about David Grutman. Apparently, he owns a bunch of nightclubs in Miami. I don't know anything about Miami club life. I don't know anything about David Grutman. This account claims he's Jewish. I don't know. It really doesn't matter, I guess. The result is the same. So they're banning now. They're banning Clavicular, who's a young guy. I don't even think he's 21. But so I really don't think he gives a damn about your club or any of the clubs in Miami, quite frankly. And he'll probably make his own club if he wants. So, that'll teach him. Yeah, that'll teach you. Oh, you played Yay Heil Hitler and it got 100 million views, or we're going to ban you from our clubs. Oh, no. Wow, you showed him. No, they got exactly what they wanted. And they say, and I guess this is from his TikTok or something here. He says, can you imagine the outrage if the roles were reversed and openly anti-Muslim bigotry took place? Are you kidding me? There's not a state in the union that has more anti-Muslim bigotry than the state of Florida. Stop it. Stop it. Anti-Muslim bigotry is widely accepted in this country. Promoted even compared to how Jewish people are treated. So let's just stop it with that. Oh, yes, I'm sure Clav is very upset. He can't go to your clubs now. And I guess the name of the club is Vendome. So they're at Vendome when this happens. And, we saw the video and, Yay music and all this stuff. Well, look, here's the thing, too. Honestly, the club owner doesn't give a damn either. No. Because I guarantee you those guys probably spent, how much money do you think at the club that night? 50 grand? The Tate brothers were there. Justin Waller was there. Those guys, they don't mind having a good time, throwing some cash around. I don't know about Fuentes or Sneeko or Clavicular. I don't know if they got it like that. A couple other guys were there. Oh, yeah. Trust me, the club owners had no problem. Let's stop this. The club owners, we're gonna play Yay Heil Hitler. How much money did they spend tonight? 50 grand? Yeah, give them whatever the hell they want. Play a Hitler speech if they want. They spent 50 grand tonight? Yeah, get whatever the hell they want. Oh no, and then afterwards, oh no, I can't believe it. I had no idea. He's counting his cash. Stop it. Stop it. And I love this approach from Sneeko. He's totally right. He said he was there. He says, I wonder why clubs don't issue apologize for music glorifying black on black violence. Well, again, go look at any of these rap lyrics that talk about killing police, killing gang, all the violence, all the other stuff, beating women, whoring, pimping women, all of this stuff. It's like, that's fine. That's mainstream. But, yays, hail Hitler. That's the one thing, That's the one thing. And again, what was it that Voltaire said about who you can't criticize? But please stop. Don't act like the club owners wanted. They loved it. Oh, they spent $50,000. Oh, yeah, play whatever they want. Of course. Miami Beach Mayor Stephen Miner, he says, oh, it's so bad. It's so bad. We're glorifying the Holocaust. So the whole, everybody's responding to Boys Night Out. I mean, you gave them exactly what they wanted. You got played. I salute the boys. I wasn't there. I don't have anything to do with it. I don't live that lifestyle. I don't promote that lifestyle, whatever. So I'm not involved. But I'm going to sit here and say the Boys Night Out, they got exactly what they wanted. They played you like a fiddle. First, they did it in the limo van, and they got the viral video. And then they did it in the club, and they got the response from the entire community. I mean, they played you like a fiddle. You did exactly what they wanted you to do. Do you understand that yet? They got exactly what they wanted out of you. You think that you won. Oh, we're going to scold them. We're going to make sure it never happens again. We're going to make statements. We're going to make political statements. Oh, no. You did exactly what they wanted you to do. They played you like a fiddle. Boys Night Out. And they played you and they exposed you exactly as they knew they would. And you fell right into the trap. You can't help yourself. You just couldn't help yourself. Even Rabbi Shmuley, who I think is intentionally the most despicable person in the world. I think this guy knows exactly what he's doing. If anything, Shmuley exists to promote anti-Semitism. He wants to be the most detestable figure out there so that he can cry anti-Semitism everywhere. I mean, the ugly beard, the selling of sex toys with his daughter and butt plugs and everything else. And he says that Nick Fuentes and the boys are sexual perverts. Now, he says they're all repressed sexually or, gay or whatever it is. Dude, you literally sell sex toys with your daughter. Okay? You have no room to talk about sexual perversion. You might be the most perverted man on the planet. You might be more perverted than you are ugly. And that's saying a lot. That's saying a lot. By the way, I mentioned this earlier. So Ro Khanna shot a video with Randy Fine. He has since come out and apologized. I didn't know who Randy Fine was. What is going on? Don Lemon, I don't know who Harmeet Dillon is. Okay. Ro Khanna, I didn't know who Randy Fine was. How do you not know this stuff? You work in politics. You work in the media. How do you not know this stuff? How are you so ignorant to this stuff? And Ro Khanna is probably maybe the best Democrat there is right now. So I don't get that at all. All right, let's skip over a couple of these things. We'll skip over that. Oh, this weekend, the 49ers electrical plant theory strikes again. 49ers Jake Tongas suffers non-contact foot injury during the game this weekend. They're going to do something. They're going to do something in San Francisco about that power plant. They have to now. With all the injury, it's too much. It's every damn game. There you go. All right. Let's go to the Super Chats, guys. Let's go to the Super Chats. Remember, if you want to get your chat read on the show, you got to go to YouTube and give us a super chat. The Rumble rants don't hold over, so we don't read those because we can't do the chat during the show. It's too distracting. So we do the show, and then afterwards we go into the chat. So we do read all YouTube super chats. So please give us a follow on YouTube. I'd love to get the YouTube channel bigger. Let's continue to grow that. Give us a subscription. Subscribe on YouTube, the Owen Report on YouTube, and then we read all super chats on YouTube. And we even were bold enough to even put them on the screen. Owen, I mentioned J areas of Florida last week, Miami-Dade, Broward, Palm Beaches. Look at the headlines now. Well, yeah, I'm guessing that's in response Israel conferences only occur inside these areas of Florida. Dan Bongino buddies with IDF soldier Brian Mast. That's true. He wears an IDF uniform around Congress. I don't know how that is even allowed, quite frankly. Tay from Florida, thank you. Robert Bickerstaff. Can anyone out there make a good Usher song? Daddy's Home, Deep State Block Gino. Block Gino. That's a new one. I had not heard that one. Block Gino. That's good. You know what? I was listening to, I actually was listening to Usher this weekend. Well, I wasn't listening to Usher. The song, I was listening to music, and the song You Remind Me came on. And I'm listening to the song. It's like, oh, yeah, you remind me of a girl that I once knew. See her face whenever I look at you. Doesn't that feel like politics right now? It's like, you all are the same to me now. It's like, I look at these politics, it's like, you're all the same. I just can't be with you. You remind me of the last politician that screwed me over. You remind me of the last politician that lied to me. You remind me of the last politician that sold me out. You remind me. That's why I just can't be with you. I'm assuming that song was about people and not politics. Maybe it was about a woman. We're not sure about that. Bongino Studios are inside of an old Burger King. I don't know about that, Tay. I'm pretty sure they're in his house. Maybe the Rumble Studios, but I've never been there. I don't know. KKU2QR, cause capitalism. Well, I'm a proud capitalist. It has, it has its issues like every other system, but a free market allows you to do whatever you want. You can be a communist, you can be a socialist, you can be a capitalist, you can do whatever the hell you want. So yes, free market is the way. Free market capitalism has clearly benefited the world unlike any other system. Dear Dan, a little humility will go a long way. You can't overcome this without humility. He has no humility. The ego. And look, pretty much everybody in media has to have an ego. You got to have an ego. I got an ego. You listen to yourself talk for 3 hours a day. You got to have some ego. But if you can't balance that with some humility, and if you can't laugh at yourself, then it overwhelms you and you crash out. And I think that that's what I'm anticipating at this point. I'm hearing some things behind the scenes that indicate it's crash out season, folks. Dan Bongino, he's a large investor in Rumble. He'll have the algorithm boost and point to his numbers obsessively. That's how he'll cope, in my opinion, from Corn Pop. A lot of people think that, but here's the thing. Everybody's kind of aware of that now. Everybody kind of has that awareness, and you can't really fake it anymore. You can't really fake it. It's like, yeah, you can fake numbers. But you can't fake genuine support, and you can't fake real world influence. So he can come on and have the biggest numbers ever, but it's going to be, people talking trash and not liking him. So I don't think you can really fake the whole picture. You can fake maybe one angle or one corner piece or something, but I don't think you can fake the whole picture. I don't think it works. I don't. South Florida, J-Land. All right, Tay. You can say it as many times you want for $2. I'll say it as many times as you want for $2. I'm pimping myself out. It's ridiculous. BB won't stand a chance in non-J areas of Florida. Well, I don't know what BB's not running for office down there. Loomer is based out of Broward County. Yeah, isn't that where she tried to run for office? Fishback 2026, $0 from foreign money. I'm telling you, that campaign is getting more ridiculous. And James Fishback, no doubt a long shot, but things are getting interesting. We're quoting a certain someone. Jew. A certain someone. I don't know. I've never seen that meme. It's definitely not going viral on X. Nobody knows. Epstein files implicate Israel. Yeah, it implicates the intelligence agencies and all the blackmail. So yeah, we can't, and all of the friends. Jennifer, X users questioning the official Charlie Kirk narrative are also being censored Since Elon owns X, makes me think Israel is behind it, since, as you're saying, it's the number one thing you can't talk about. I gotta say, I you might be right on that. I just know how to beat the algorithm. So it's, if I wanted to really pay attention to detail on this stuff, then I could look at the numbers, but I'm not, to be honest with you, I'm not. I know how to rig the algorithm to get what I want. So I see all the conspiracy theories. I see all the people questioning the Charlie Kirk narrative. I don't have any shortage of that on my X timeline. And that's probably because I posted about it a lot in the beginning, and it's probably because I open up the posts about it when it comes across my feed. I think I explained that last week or 2 weeks ago. Folks, I understand people have their issues with the X algorithm, but I'm telling you right now, it is the easiest thing to manipulate because it's so sensitive. So if you want to see that stuff, just like a couple of the posts, just open a couple of the posts, read the whole thing. I mean, it's literally scanning your face for reactions and everything. So it's really sensitive. So you can still rig the algorithm, but if you're not gaming it like that, then yeah, it'll probably control what you see and what you don't. And that might be one of the things that it cuts the spread on. South Florida is completely different from the rest of Florida. Yeah, I've been to Florida enough to see what you're saying with that. Mark Levin's gold company now sponsors Nick Fuentes. He said that. He said that in one of the streams, but he said it wasn't a closed deal. He said it was a 7-figure offer. I mean, folks, those are crazy numbers. I don't know anybody that gets a 7-figure sponsorship. I got to be honest with you. I've never even heard of it. A 6-figure sponsorship is unheard of. 7? So I don't know. I don't know all the deals about that. And Nick didn't really go into detail, so I'm not making any assumptions. But that would be funny if Fuentes legitimately steals a gold sponsor from Levin. Now, other people will have different conspiracy theories behind that, but I did see that. America only from Tay-Tay. Matt Gaetz should have been AG instead of Pam Bondi. Well, we all know what happened there. We all know why that didn't go down. PFF 1974. We're going to war with Iran because a lady farted into a phone. But in all seriousness, this wasn't the environment expected for Trump's second term. These outraged Zionists are acting like leftists. Bingo! That's why they call you woke right. And I found this. I don't even know if I want to touch it, quite frankly. I'll tell you here on the show. In fact, I might as well even say this if you're listening to the show. Because, just like anything in life, you got to pick and choose your battles. And you have to be discerning about when you decide to engage in such things. I found it was, what is Bibi Netanyahu's son's name? Nair Netanyahu. What is his name? It's skipping my mind. He actually, I believe, first coined the phrase woke right. And he posted it on X, and it was the first thing I've ever seen on woke right. And I found that, and I was like, oh. I didn't bother repost. I probably could have got 1 million views, but I was like, you know what? I'm not touching that one. And somebody else could have coined it first, so I also don't know it was him that coined it. But that was the first instance that I could find of woke right, was Netanyahu's son, who lives in South Florida. But that's exactly what it is. The woke right is just like the woke left. The woke left is like, it's like, look at a case and say, okay, how is this woke left? Well, look at BLM. Look at how they did BLM and responded and all the politics. The right, pro-Israel are fighting anti-Semitism. That is just BLM for the right. Israel is just Black Lives Matter for right-wing politics. So that's why it's the same vein of woke left, woke right. It's all the same. It's find the cause and then manipulate the politics around it. But yeah, they are acting like leftists because they're all woke. That's why they have to defend death. Capo Mercs, the biggest trick ever played on humanity, religion. Oh, I don't know if the Owen Report's going to be tackling that one anytime soon, but I wouldn't necessarily say I completely disagree. The real Emperor Palpatine, evil men flourish when good men do nothing. Oh, that's right. Very well said. Tay, plenty of Minnesota plates in snowy, rainy, freezing Florida. Is that true? Is it still freezing there? Those must be tourists. Boston is filled with mass hole drivers. Heard that one before. DJT, Donald Jewish Trump. Is he? He's never denied it. Levin made the claim. I don't ever saw him deny it. Over the whole left versus right. We're effed either way, from Captain Hard. I'd like to say I split the difference there. I think I split between the left and the right. Russia and the U.S. are natural allies. I've been saying that for years. Couldn't agree more. And so is Michael Savage, by the way. That's where I first heard it. Nothing True 11. Agree. Red versus blue is a huge psyop. As long as your team is doing it, it's okay. Thanks for everything, Owen. Consider listening to Peter Schiff. I listen to Peter Schiff every once in a while. He's been all about gold. We'll see if he gets the last laugh on that with Bitcoin. Tay, I support James Fishback's hoe tax. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If we're going to have a jock tax, I don't support any of it, but it's like, okay, if we're going to have a jock tax, yeah, I'm okay with a whore tax. If a literal online hooker is making $90 million a year, I'm not going to complain about taxing that 50%. Now, I'm against taxes, so it's like, okay, I'm kind of being a hypocrite. All right, call me out. I'm a hypocrite. It's one of those things where you're like, oh, please don't. And then you just, yeah. Like, I'm not going to sit here and come to defense of internet strippers making $90 million a year. That's what she claims to make. And by the way, let's be perfectly clear about something here. Let's be really clear about something here. As soon as they have regime change in Iran, you know they're going to be pushing those women onto OnlyFans, right? You know that, right? Oh, it's so great. We're going to have the revolution in Iran. We're going to free the women. They're just going to put them on OnlyFans. And you know what happens with all that money on OnlyFans? Do you know where OnlyFans spends its money? They're one of the top donors to Israel politics and the Israeli lobby. So they literally turn young women into internet whores, and then they take that money and they spend it on pro-Israel causes. And they're going to do that in Iran. So, yeah, I don't like taxes. Cut all the taxes. Owen, did you see there's a 50% whore tax in Florida? Oh, no, I don't like that. Anyway, Argentina and Chile blaming Israelis. Yeah, it's all over their media. I mean, there's actual real evidence in Argentina. We'll see what happens in Chile. U.S. politics, two choices, Soros and Adelson. Does seem to be the case. Deep Dubs. Where's that stand-up set you did a few years ago? I have no idea. I know what you're talking about. You know, you can probably find it. Boy, I don't even know. Maybe at the old. I don't think that my old employer has erased all of my videos from their servers. I don't think they've done that. So I would imagine it's somewhere there. But I don't know. That was so long ago. I don't remember the name of that event. The fact that you're asking makes me think that you enjoyed it, though. So I appreciate that. Molly Pearson, have you ever noticed Trump doesn't make public appearances anymore? He has to know his popularity is at an all-time low. His narcissism must hate that. Yeah, you're on to something. You're on to something. I think it's safety reasons. He's going to be at the football game tonight. The national championship kicks off in about an hour, and Trump is going to be at the college national championship football game. By the way, they're saying it's like, security is going to be completely insane. So it's going to be even harder to get in than it normally would. So that's going to be a pain in people's ass. But Trump will be out there tonight. I would imagine at an NCAA football game, he probably is pretty popular. Tina Kaskamicki, listener in Europe. No comment, just giving a super chat. Thank you. LH Aquin. I don't know what to say with these weird names, so I just try my best. Why do you support this Iceland propaganda? Wait a second. I'm sorry. Wait. What? What? I would go to Iceland someday, though. Bark King 90. Greetings from Turkey. I follow you for American news. You speak the truth. I just wanted to add Jake Lang is a Jew wall kisser, and his sister is in the IDF, if you didn't know this already. Well, I don't know anything about his sister. I've never heard that. You know, look, I don't really want to talk at length about Jake. I think people put way too much into it, to be honest. I believe it's his mother is Jewish, so I guess technically he's Jewish. I think he was bar mitzvahed. He did go and kiss the wall. Guys, I don't think it's that deep, to be honest. I really don't. I know this is going to have a lot of people like, oh my gosh, Owen, how could you do that? Guys, I think he just does his own thing. And, maybe I know a little bit more about it, and I'm not going to say it here because it's private information, but I don't think it's that deep, guys. I really don't. I think Jake just does what he wants. I think that Jake just does what he thinks people want to see or what they want to hear. And I think Jake, goes where he thinks he can get media attention and maybe support a cause or start a cause. I really don't think it's that deep. Now, I don't know anything about his sister. I've never heard of that. I wouldn't give it that much credit, guys. I really wouldn't. So I don't know. I know a lot of people probably don't want to hear that. They want people to pile on Jake. I don't give it that much attention. I don't think it's like that, guys. I really don't. Bark King 90. U.S. Turks go to jail for criticizing our president here, and Trump seems to love him. Hope your country doesn't go our way. We are both Zog victims. Well, there's a lot of concern about Turkey's involvement in the Middle East. And there's a lot of concern of Hungary not going along with the global agenda as well. Yair Netanyahu is the son and lives in Florida. That's right. Thank you. That's the one. Gregory Wright, 2025. Owen, could you baptize me? Well, I suppose I could, but I'm not sure I'm the one you want to baptize you. I guess I could. You have to be, I'm not ordained or anything, so I don't know. Actually, I don't know if I can. I don't know if that would be legal. But we can go swimming together or, pop a bottle or something, I guess. Mista Rhodes. I believe the midterms will be based upon who supports Israel and who does not. Well, the Democrats agree with you, and that's why they're going against Israel. And it's so funny to watch the projection, by the way. And guys, just ignore it. It's total projection. This idea that Tucker Carlson is bad for the GOP, complete lie. It's the exact opposite. If anything, Trump knows, hey, I need to get Tucker Carlson into the White House. I need to take a picture with Tucker Carlson because I'm losing so many people. I need people to think, hey, he's still cool with Tucker to keep people voting. So anybody telling you Tucker is going to cost the GOP votes is a liar and 100% wrong. Nobody thinks about Tucker Carlson when they go vote. Nobody. But if they see, oh, Trump still lets Tucker in, okay, maybe, maybe he is kind of still with us. And this other idea that, oh, only candidates that support Israel will be able to win an election this year. Why is that? Because they're rigged and they control the voting booth? Because politically, the exact opposite is going to happen. And everybody knows it. So it's all projection, folks. It's all projection. And I think it's from people that know what is coming. I think people know what's coming, and so they're projecting. Oh, no, Tucker. Oh, no, it's got to be Israel. We have to support Israel. Yeah, it's all projection. It's the opposite. Greenland propaganda. You know what I meant. No. Two different land masses. Two different people. Two different countries, Greenland and Iceland. Don't bring that in here. You corrected yourself, though. I'll take them both. I'll take them both. How about that? We'll just have them both. All right, a lot of super chats today. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate that. From all over the world. Thank you. All right. Quite a Monday show. Quite a Monday transmission, guys. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Remember, you can get official Owen Report merchandise at owenschroyer.store. Please give us a follow on X at owenschroyer1776, on Rumble, rumble.com/Owen. And please help me build that YouTube channel, folks. Really want to do well on YouTube. Go to the Owen Report on YouTube. Give us a follow. That does it for today's show. Take a 21-hour break. God bless and Godspeed.